Okay, good evening and welcome to the Timberlane Regional School Board meeting for Thursday, January 9th, 2020. I'd like to start off with a moment of silence for our troops that put themselves in harm's way. Okay, if you could stand for the Pledge of Allegiance, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, if we could have a roll call vote, Mrs. Belcher.
Brian Boyle.
Here.
Lee Doobie.
Here.
Kim Farah. Sheila Lowe's.
Here.
Sarah Mockamer.
Here.
Sean O'Neill.
Here.
Kristen Savage.
Here.
Sue Sherman. Jennifer Silva.
Here.
Seated at the board table this evening are Superintendent of Schools, Dr. Earl Metzler, and Student Representative Kyle Duffy. The presence of other district administrators as well as Timberlane Teacher Association officers will be reflected in the meeting minutes.
Okay, if we can move on to the approval of our minutes. This will be the December 19th, 2019 public minutes from 7 p.m.
Make a motion to accept the minutes from December 19th.
Any motions been made?
I'll second it.
Seconded by Mrs. Savage. A couple of minutes for anybody else to finish reading. Anybody else need any more time? I'm going to call the question. All those in favor? All those opposed? And all those abstain. So it's 4-0-2. Okay, I'll take your word for it. Okay, so we'll move on to our,
Sealed.
the non-public. Oops, sorry.
Motion to accept non-public from December 19th.
Motion is made. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Motion seconded by Mrs. Savage. Any more time? I'm going to call the question. All those in favor? Aye. All those opposed? And all those abstain. So we're saying 5-0-2.
Sealed?
Yes,
They're
these
sealed.
are sealed.
Oh, you gonna leave it? Or-
Thank you. Okay, our first, student representative, Mr. Duffy. Sorry about that, and I apologize.
No worries, no worries. I'm glad to be back, welcoming everybody back, school board, students, administrators, and staff for the next calendar year, 2020. We're getting school back going again. So with that, I'm going to start with Danville Elementary. On December 19th, the Danville students from kindergarten to 5th grade, they traveled to Pinkerton to see Peter Pan, and they'd like to give a special thanks to Cindy Wood and their PTA for helping coordinate and fund that awesome experience for the kids. At Pollard School, as we talked about on the board a few weeks ago, they have just welcomed their Compass staff to Pollard, and they'll be working with that small group of students that was discussed, and they're very excited to see the progress that they'll make there. At Sandown North, Sandown Ski Club has begun for the month of January. It's an independent organization sponsored by parents and parent chaperones, and the school would like to thank these chaperones for providing this opportunity. Right now they have 32 participants, and they're hoping for a snowy winter so they can get out there and ski those slopes a little more than usual. At Sandown Central, the preschool students are developing their skills to retell stories, and they're using tools to remember the sequence of stories and the main idea. And right now they're going through a lot of popular winter-themed books and about winter-themed animals and their habitats. Going up to the middle school, on December 18th, the 8th grade traveled to the North Shore in Massachusetts, and they watched the rendition of A Christmas Carol in a theater in the round experience, where the stage is a circle and the seats totally surround it. And that's the best interpretation of the play in the area, and that's always a very exciting thing for the students to go to. It's connecting the curriculum that they've been learning through. They had just read through the Christmas Carol, and now they get to see it performed live, which is really awesome. Going up to the high school, Mealy's Meals raised about $13,000 for the 2019 year, so hats off to them. That's incredible. A really great program to helping out TRHS and TRSD families. On January 7th, TRHS welcomed visitors from SAU 83 in the Fremont School District. They're looking to possibly join our school district when their contract ends with Sanborn in 2026. And I'm hearing from everything I've heard, it's been a successful visit, and they were welcomed by all our administrators, staff, and the students gave a welcoming atmosphere. On January 21st, there's the incoming freshman parent night from 6:30 to 8:30 at the PAC, so put that on your calendars. Going to athletics, the National Athletic Trainers Association has named Timberlane Regional School District a safe sports school first team for their 3-year period ending in 2023. The program recognizes secondary schools that focus on providing the best level of care, injury prevention, and treatment to all of their athletes. And I don't want to steal Mr. Fantasia's thunder here, but congrats to Timberlane's inaugural unified basketball team on their first win against Pinkerton, but I'll let Mr. Fantasia elaborate later on. For the performing arts, I have a few dates. On January 10th, tomorrow, there's the Milkman Show for this month at 7 p.m. in the recital hall. On January 18th, there's the 24-hour play performance at 7 p.m. also in the recital hall. And through this week and next week, we're going to be finishing up our winter concert series with some middle school and elementary school concerts. So make sure you check out the Performing Arts Center website to see when those are. Have a great night, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, I haven't heard anything for any delegates and individuals.
No, we have none.
Okay. All right. So we'll move on to our current business. First one's going to be the Performing Arts Action Plan.
All right.
Good evening.
Good evening, everyone. So, does everyone have a copy of this? Is that the way that works? So we're gonna just talk off of the,
They all have a copy in their
everyone has a
pockets.
copy of it? Okay. And do I control this here?
You do. Charge.
Up and down, Tony, on the
Okay, good. I need coaching on this, yeah.
Bit of practice, yeah.
That works well. Mr. Henderson? We're starting off really good here. If it was a clarinet, I'd have better luck. Or a trumpet. I'm sorry, did I mess up something? Wasn't me
There you
for
go.
once? It wasn't me?
It wasn't technology.
Can we write that down, make that reflective in the minutes? It wasn't me?
Up and down.
Okay, thank you, I get it, up and down, all right, good. So, my action plan, we have 3 basic goals, and first we have the mission plan for the performing arts in general. You all have that in front of you, so I'm gonna just kind of skip that and utilize the up and hear that wonderful triad. Okay, got it. So, for the performing arts, we have 3 separate goals. The first goal is to, during this year, to institute and to organize and implement an inaugural Performing Arts Visual Hall of Fame. We will be doing this in a variety of ways. Our action steps are to develop the Performing Arts Hall of Fame criteria, which we are in the process of doing now. We've already created a board to oversee the process and the selection committees, and we're in the process, and we have a basic timeline for the implementation and the selection process, and that is basically going to be for the entire year next year. We'll be collecting nominations, and then the induction ceremony itself will take place in the fall of 2021. So, Reader's Digest version, we've got this year to implement it, to disseminate the information on people who are qualified and who are willing to, take part in this, organize it, get it out there, and then develop an induction ceremony in the fall of 2021. That's an exciting process that's been in the works for a while. I would like to thank the Performing Arts Advisory Committee that we have together, and in particular, Mr. Scott Strange, for really putting a fine point on a lot of the details and helping out with a lot of the legwork of logistics for this. So we're going to organize and implement the inaugural. I'm going the wrong way with the up and down button. There we go. There we go. Clarinet, a lot better. All right. So number 2, what we're going to do is to further develop and refine the performing visual arts graduating seniors. Every year we have anywhere between 8 to 12 to 15 seniors who graduate Timberlake Regional High School, and they go on to perform or be seniors, let me rephrase that, to be college graduates in the area of either music, art, or drama, or technical arts now. We like to collect that information. We did it for the first time last year, and sort of give those parents and those students a night where we highlight who those individuals are. We highlight what their accomplishments were in high school, whether it was in the area of music or art or drama or tech, and where possible, we distribute, and we don't distribute. We allow them to display their work, either music or art, and then we tell them where they're going, we tell them what they did, and we just basically give them an attaboy because it's a nice thing for those students. We had our first one last year. We want to continue that this year and make it even bigger and better than what we did last year. It takes a lot of coordination with the music department, art department, and the tech departments, and the drama department to organize and get that information from the students and then disseminate it to the parents of those students. It's a nice evening out. So that's it. The nomination procedure is I collect information from all of the faculty who have intimate knowledge, really, of the students about where they're going and how they're doing it, and then we collect all that and approach the student and approach the parents, and it's a nice night. I don't know if any of you, I know some of you did, or one of you did, but it's a nice night, and we're going to continue that and put an even finer point than what we did last year for the first year. The goal number 3 this year is a day of providing clinicians for guidance for our large performing arts organization, our large performing ensembles, and that's basically band, chorus, and orchestra at the high school and the 8th grade band at the middle school. Historically, we have done what's called the New Hampshire Music Educators Large Group Conference. This year, they're moving their concert adjudicated festival to Plymouth, and we've done this in the past because of the distance and the massive amounts of time to take our kids from here up to Plymouth and then bring them back. We have done this type of thing in the past where we offer an in-house, what we think is at least equal, if not better. And the way we've formatted that is to bring in, for the band area, we've got Dr. Andrew Boyson, who's the director of bands at the University of New Hampshire. For the chorus, we've got Dr. Jamie Hilliard, who's the director of choruses at Gordon College. And for the orchestra, we have Mr. Mark Latham, who is the director of the New Hampshire Symphony, as well as a faculty member of the University of Massachusetts in Lowell. We talk to these people, we have them come in for a day and basically not adjudicate, but clinic, and give our kids a fresh perspective on how college people would look at a piece of music. In several cases, the conductor is not only the conductor, but he or she is the composer. So they're not only looking at it from a college perspective or a conducting perspective, they're looking at a composition inspection direction also, which is a kind of interesting an interesting concept for the kids to put that all together. We're working on music for that. We're going to make that happen, and we're kind of excited about that. So the large group thing, if it comes back into the, the southern part of the state, historically it's been in Manchester and Bow, but when they moved it to Plymouth, because of the cost, because of the, nearly 7 hours of bus, so we could go and perform for 20 or 30 minutes and then turn around and come back. This is a nice program that we're putting together. And so anyway, that's that. Are there any questions or comments? So we have 3 main goals. One is to further refine and coordinate the visual art, the senior visual and performing art seniors. The second goal is to initiate, well, it's the other way around, but initiate and further organize the Performing Arts Hall of Fame. And the third is to put across this clinician day for each of our major ensembles at the high school, which is serve around 320 kids. So we're excited about that. Yes, ma'am.
Are you still taking interns?
Say it again.
Are you still taking interns?
You mean student teachers?
Yes.
We have, yes. We took one last year.
Well, I know you have, but
Yeah.
is it still happening on a regular
It only
basis?
happens when they approach us. We don't go out and actively seek interns to come in. The intern, through their music education people, whether they're UNH or Durham, Keene, or Plymouth, they'll come and for one reason or another, they'll suggest us to come in. We took one last year, and then we turned around and hired that person. So it worked out really well. But yes, we don't refuse them, but unless they approach us, we don't go out and actively
out.
seek them.
Anybody else have any questions? Okay, thank you very much for all.
We good?
All you guys do.
All right, thank you very much.
Thanks for coming in.
Sorry for the,
Good.
Angela will do a great
I was just gonna say, this presentation is something she used to do.
You see these right here? It's all about your
Are you gonna tell me the wrong one? I think he's gonna tell me the wrong one. Put my glasses on.
So just up and down there.
Great. First of all, thank you. So, before I get started, and I know some thunder has been stolen, so that's okay, I forgive you. I did want to make reference, and it was referenced, and I thank you for doing that. Timberlane had played in its first ever unified basketball game this past Monday. We traveled to Pinkerton Academy. It was one of the best things I've ever seen. It was amazing. And I have to tell this quick story because one of our athletes, Lucas, works at Dano's and made 3 pizzas and had me drive them over to Pinkerton Academy so that after the game, after our glorious victory over the Astros, we were able to sit in their lobby and eat pizza. And I will invite all of you. We have our first ever home game this Monday at 3:30 against Raymond. And just talking quickly about school culture and climate, we have a number of our student athletes who have already started getting on people to make sure they're at the game. Signs are being made, so there's just a lot of excitement. So as I said, I would have been remiss if I didn't start with that, and I'm just so very proud of all of those kids and Coach Bird and everybody, so. Now, getting into the athletic goals and action plans, you have in front of you, obviously, our mission statement. Members of the Timberlane Athletic Department promote athletics as an extension of the educational process. Student athletes and coaches will show respect for themselves, opponents, officials, and spectators. Anyone representing the Timberlane Athletic Department will exhibit the highest level of conduct both on and off the playing fields, is the mission statement. Obviously, we live through the acronym as well: offer your best, work cooperatively, live responsibly, and speak and act respectfully. The reason I like starting with this mission statement is because I'm also happy to announce to you that the New Hampshire Football Officials Association has awarded the Timberlane football program their Sportsmanship Award this year. It comes with a school banner We will be receiving a banner from them, as well as a $1,000 scholarship for one of our student athletes. And this is presented to schools whose players, coaches, and fans exemplify the highest standard of sportsmanship. So again, I know we talk about things all the time, but it's really important that we acknowledge things when they come through. I certainly want to acknowledge Coach Fitzgerald and his players and his coaching staff, as well as the entire community. I get tons of compliments from the officials and opponents about the atmosphere that we have on our Friday night football games from the community. So I just want to make sure that people realize that it is noticed, and we're very proud of that program. So, thank you. Getting into our goals. Last year's goals, and I'm going to be visiting back and forth in a few of them, but the first goal from 18-19 that we had, to paraphrase, we were looking to increase the number of multi-sport athletes. If you remember, we talked about that, trying to give kids the benefits and bring in some data. While statistically we had just a slight decrease, I will revisit this because it is going to be a continued goal. And as I go forward, you'll see a few other things that are going to be coming. So rather than hold you up there, I'll move to the next slide. Goal 2 really had to do with promoting our Life of an Owl program and expanding our Life of an Owl program. And I'm happy to tell you that was done, and we are continuing to do that. So even though we say that the goal is met, we will be continuing that, whether it's a goal or not. We've had other high schools come to meet with us to try to start Life of an Athlete and Life of whatever they want to call it. But they have come to visit us. They've asked us to come and visit them. We have a group of students who will be participating in the Student Leadership Conference this March at the Mount Washington Hotel. We have 2 teachers that will be chaperones, as well as Tim Lena will be up there as a presenter. So we are very much at the forefront in the Life of an Athlete. I will tell you that last summer at the New England Leadership Conference, Timberlane had the highest representation of students there from the state of New Hampshire, and we're really proud of that. Like as I said, we've been asked to speak at different things, and we have some schools that are asking questions, and I just feel like it's a positive thing. The more questions people ask and the more people want to get involved in their own school culture, it's just going to be a positive thing. And as I said, when you look at unified basketball and you look at the different things that are going on here at our high school that are student-driven, and I should back up and make sure I say this publicly, in our unified PE classes is where unified basketball kind of blossomed. Students came to me at the start of the year and asked me, how do they start unified basketball? Why can't we have unified basketball? What can we do to get unified basketball? It was really student-driven. So again, and when I talk to other schools around the state, I tell people, once you start a culture, just step back for a minute. The kids are going to do things. The people are going to do things. And I can't be more proud of those kids for starting that. And it's something that's going to stick around for a while. So I will keep moving. I apologize. Before I get into this year's goals, I also have to talk a little bit about the National Athletic Trainers Association Award that we just received yesterday. Because I was at a school board meeting, I believe last year, and I was telling you how I was working with Access Sports Medicine and our athletic trainer on our emergency action plans. And we were looking to revise them, update them, and implement them. And so we did that through the NATA. We made our revisions, we submitted them to the NATA, and they responded with that reward. And on a side note, we unfortunately have had to utilize our emergency action plans a few times. And I'm happy to report that coaches and athletic trainers and everyone handled things very, very well. So we're really proud of everybody. I want to thank Access Sports, Jess Susi, our athletic trainer, as well as all of our coaches for really making this a living, breathing document. It's not something that's just going to sit on the shelf. So, going back again for this year's goals, again, we want to keep talking about the importance of multi-sport athletes and the benefits. And I sit on the NHIA Sports Medicine Committee, and that committee is made up of doctors and I am clearly the least important person on that committee. I am the athletic director representation. But there's doctors and athletic trainers and just high professional people on there. And the mentality is that we do need to continue to educate people on the benefits. And the National Federation of High School has a position statement that they've come out with. So at the NHIA, we've asked that we start publicizing those things and just making sure that people understand as much information as they can. So we will be posting very shortly on our website, and we'll probably be sending out information to parents and kids based on that position statement, and letting people just have as many facts and as much data as they can. Also, a second goal for the athletic department is to improve communication and also promote communication through social media. We're looking to expand our following on Twitter, and I know that we had 652 followers at the end of November, and now we're up to, I believe, it's 684. I am not the greatest social media person that you'll find, so I'm working at it. So I don't know if that's good or bad. I know it's higher, that's all I know. But, you know, I've been called a boring tweeter. I promise I'll try to get better. You know, I think the kids have enjoyed it. I've had some meetings with some kids, and they're following and telling me what I should be saying. So I will, I'll try to listen to them a little bit better.
Careful.
Yeah, trust me, I have two at home, so I will be very careful about what they tell me. I promise. But also, I think it's important. I thought that this was a good opportunity for us, you know, not just administrators, but also with the kids to develop guidelines and expectations for social media behavior, and we'll try to put that in next year's athletic handbook a little bit stronger and really try to keep it on the forefront. Again, anything that we do in education is a teachable moment. So the old guy is learning, and hopefully I can try to get them involved too. So, as I said, that has been a pretty positive thing, and the kids like it. We've been trying to promote some of the great successes. I gave you a few today, but there's been a lot of successes going on in the athletic department. So I just want to take this last moment to thank all of our coaches, our teachers, our administrators, all of you for all of your support. This is a great community, and there's a lot of positive things going on, and I think it's important that we highlight those as much as possible. So, thank you.
Thank you. Do you have any questions?
Quick question. Angela, put you on the spot, sorry. Last time you were in, we talked about trying to start looking into, I know it's kind of putting the cart before the horse, but starting to come up with ideas for turf, the benefits of it, researching it, things of that nature. Has anything been done with that, or?
There hasn't been much done yet. There's been a couple of things that have come up in the interim that we are trying to solve. And so I want to make sure that we get some of the things that we immediately have to do for the upcoming seasons. So I'm going to be working with, you know, Superintendent and Mr. Dowd, because we do have to get a couple of things solved before we get ready. The snow's going to be gone, and we're going to not be ready, so we got to be very careful.
Okay. Is there
Okay.
a plan, though, to kind of, we talked about putting a committee together and trying to
Yes, and
start
I think,
looking into that,
I
so.
think once we get a few of the things that have kind of jumped in front of everything done,
Okay.
then I think we can definitely be moving forward with other stuff. But we have had some things come up that we really have to deal with.
Okay.
Okay?
To Kristen's point, I think as we look at the strategic plan and as the school board decides inside, outside, remember we talked a little bit about buildings, grounds, buildings, so that's part of that plan. So I think,
Yeah.
you know, what we're doing in the immediate future, and then obviously we need to, you know, put ourselves in position for that next step, which is the grounds. If the grounds are next,
Right.
and then we, you know,
Yep.
so
Listen, I'm
we want to get
I'm all for it.
we want to get that going in terms of at least the collection of all the information we need, so at some point we can present what we know
Okay.
and what we think is, and then we make some recommendations, what we think is the
Like
best.
cost-benefit analysis, things of that
Mm-hmm.
nature, and just so we have the information when we're ready.
Okay.
So,
So we'll get started. I mean, I know we have some things we need to get ready for this spring, but I think
Oh.
if we're ready by the fall to present something in terms of to the school board about
Sure.
what the research indicates and what would be the next best options as we look at grounds as opposed to buildings, or simultaneously look at them.
Sure.
So we should be ready, so,
Yeah.
fair enough?
Yeah, very fair.
Okay.
Very fair.
Sheila?
It sounded a little ominous, so I'm gonna throw that out there, of things that absolutely have to come up now that
Well,
you're saying that-
we've had some things happen, and I know Facilities and Grounds, is working with it. So we've had a couple of things. We had some drainage issues with the middle school fields. We had some of that. We had an issue with pipe burst at the high jump area of the track, and there's a huge 5-foot hole, sitting in the middle of the high jump area of the track. We have to get some things done, because once spring comes, we have to be ready, and we're not
Are we
ready.
using that high jump area?
We
I
have to.
thought we
That's the only
weren't.
place we can practice.
Practice. Can't have meets, but you can practice.
It's the only place we can practice. It's not regulation size, but that's the only area that we have. So there's a 5-foot hole in the middle of it. So,
There are some repairs that we know we have to make, and then there's some that, after the winter, if there's cracks in the tennis courts, those courts,
Right, those are-
those are
Routine stuff.
those are
real
routine.
seasonal things
Right.
that you don't know until you look. We don't know what the baseball diamond's gonna look like until the snow's,
Right.
what
Right.
kind of repairs we
Those
need
are
to make.
kind of, yeah, like you say,
So
those are kind of the
everything's in-
normals.
That's kind of the norm.
Right.
When you said that, it sounded a little,
Well, this one's a little more than
right.
a little
That's okay. I figured I'd ask.
normal.
Yeah, that's a little bigger than general.
It's a little bigger than what we're used to, so we got to deal with that.
But there was a plan,
Okay.
and there is a plan, right? I mean, I know we may, it's just a matter of like when the ground's ready to be.
Yep.
So,
We got it, yep. So,
Thank you.
okay, thank you.
Nothing.
Okay, thank you very much.
so before you get into Title IX, I made a special request to the chair so that if we had the PAC discussion, that we could have the PAC discussion with Mr. D here, primarily because more discussion had taken place about when we start to begin this work, what this looks like for disruption of, or not disruption of, Mr. D put my mind at ease with a lot about programs. We also have to think about rentals, and all those kinds of things. So he was here, and he has more information about that than any of us could ever
I
bring.
think
So
you're off the hook, and I think that
Well, no,
I'm not off the hook.
You're not
I
off
think
the
I'm
hook
out of it.
totally.
you still have your Title IX presentation, right?
Yeah, but do you want me to,
Following, but I was
You're on the
hoping that we
bench.
could do
Yeah, no,
that.
it's
You're on the
fine.
bench.
Take a
Am I
back
getting
seat on the
booted?
bench. You're on the bench for a while.
I'm on the bench?
Back on the bench, yeah.
You're up again.
Substitution.
So, you have Jeff, Gary, and
You
and Mr.
don't
D.
even have to press any buttons. You can-
Oh, I know.
Gary brought some props too, so
These guys sit there.
show and tell. Want some help with those blocks, or can you handle those?
I think they can stay there for right now, no?
Well, good evening, and thank you, Mr. D, for sticking around long enough. I appreciate that. I have provided a performing arts outer wall replacement update executive summary in your packet. I don't know if anyone's had a chance to take a look at it. Fairly comprehensive update, I hope. And a couple of notes are that I have, what we have been working on is trying to make sure that there is no issue between the two different trades that we have. One trade is for the siding, the other trade is the masonry. And as of right now, what we've been working on and what we've been able to come through with is to have our framing company, Triton Framing and Siding, be the prime contractor on the arrangement, so that they will sub out the masonry work, and we'll have one person, one entity responsible for making sure that all of that ties in well. I've indicated the dates that they're planning on starting, which was within line. Early April, they will begin the demo and installation of siding. Early May, they expect they'll have demolition of the remainder with installation of the brick surfaces. We actually have samples of the bricks back here, the colors and textures and that sort of thing, so you can take a look when you're up and about or on your way out. The project cost, because we had extended the line of the brick actually up twice over the initial estimate, because we had come in favorably on that estimate relative to what we had expected. The total project cost was initially approved at $531,000. The cost with the additional courses of brick is $552,184. I will, at some point tonight, need to have some approval of the board on that overage, and we can certainly have a discussion on that if you'd like.
Jeff, can I just?
Certainly.
So I just wanted, just for clarification, so we were treating that, I sent out an email the other day because it sounded like we needed a deposit. That was not it. It looks like we were treating that 531,000 like a not-to-exceed number, right? Because the voters voted that. And so we know that it's going to be a little bit more than that. So that's why I wanted you to have this discussion. So because the voters approved a certain number, and we needed you to say, okay, it's okay to go a little bit, because we changed a little bit of the work. It costs a little more than what we previously had put out, if that makes sense. So that was that extra 20,000, and he just indicated, that Jeff just indicated from 531 to 551. So when I said we needed an additional 20,000, it wasn't for a deposit, which I misled you, and I apologize. It was more or less so that they'd have enough money, almost like a not to exceed 551. And that's what he's alluding to now. We'll be looking for you to say, it's okay to spend a little more. Now, normally, we would just transfer the money and do it, because we already have the money in that account. But again, I wanted to look at it like a not to exceed number until you told us it was okay. That make everybody that clear on that? Okay, so that. There you
So
go.
I think
Sorry. Thanks, Jeff.
it'll be a I certainly think it's been an enhancement to the project to have those several courses above where they initially were. So that's a good thing. So I will ask at some point for the board to consider that, or if you're all okay by consensus with that difference in pricing, I can undertake the contract as soon as I receive that approval. So we also have a significant number, I shouldn't say significant, a number of problems, and I've delineated, not problems, potential issues, and I've delineated what those are, some logistical challenges, elimination of walking paths behind the school, behind the pack, displacement of vehicle parking behind the pack, and noise. So we have a team, actually a pretty sound team, led by these two fine gentlemen next to me, along with two building representatives, who are addressing these issues and are going to be the point people for issues that come up in the future. So they've looked at a lot of the issues so far, and I think that they've gotten us comfortable that we have workarounds available and ready to be put in place. We will be putting together a more comprehensive safety plan relative to the work for distribution, so that everyone's on the same page, both buildings and the stakeholders in those buildings can communicate out to their students and staff and faculty as would be necessary. And that's that. We're expecting as well to have, by the end of January, a project page put out there, linked on the front of on our homepage, as well as from the Performing Arts Center page as well, to give project scope, phases, begin, end dates, what the public should expect, and project results, project progress. So we're pretty pleased.
And Mr. D, jump in if you can. So our concern really, when we started to think about, we rent out, there's a lot of dance recitals, a lot of outside groups that come in, and you normally wouldn't be renting out your facility while it's being renovated. In discussions with Mr. D, most of that will be behind the building. So they typically use the front, they park, and it won't be anything inside the building. So we feel pretty good about that.
Feel really confident with that. The back of the building, some of our renters don't even know really the parking lot back there exists, much less do they utilize it. So 98%, if not more, all entrances and exits come out the front, and most of the work, with the exception of the overhang, will be on the back of the building. And so I really don't see that to be a great problem for the renting. And same thing goes for the student exiting and leaving both the high school and middle school. Instead of coming in the back, they'll have to go out and in and out of the front. And they'll have additional guidance and maybe a little extra time to get from point A to point B, but I don't see that. And again, having lived there for the last 18 years, I don't see it to be a problem. We have a lot of kids going in and out the front now. We'll just have all of them going out as soon as we get through that first 2-week hiatus where their routine takes them through a certain door and you have to go through another door, right, Kyle?
Oh, yeah.
Once we get through that, we'll be all set. But we'll be all right with that in that regard.
And the other challenge was really parking, whether it was staff or student parking, and so that's the comprehensive plan they're working out about. We'll be displacing or relocating that parking temporarily, because there'll be the machinery and other things that need to occupy some
Material
of that
and whatnot.
parking space. So we talked a little bit about potentially getting temporary parking, but if you remember correctly, when we started thinking about additional space, we needed a site plan and that sort of thing. So I think
I think we've been able to get that waived.
Okay, so it was about getting waivers from the town of Plastow so that we were able to use some temporary parking while this construction project was underway, and that's great if we were able to do that. That'll make things a lot easier for you to put that plan together, so thank you. Yeah.
Good. Sheila?
Only because I've lived at the PAC for numerous years also. Few questions. Will the soundproofing help you now with this building in your rooms that we've put in?
Well, the soundproofing, I mean, to be honest, is really only mitigating the sound inside the building.
Inside the building.
It's really not going to help us mitigate the sound coming from next outside. Although we do have sort of a backup plan for that. We do have, once we figure out exactly how intrusive or how disruptive that's going to be, we can move classes to different places. It's not going to be easy, but when talking with the administration, both at the high school and the middle school, we've got some options there. We've got use of the auditorium, which is completely surrounded, so the noise will not be a factor. If they're making that much noise, we're going to have a problem, not only at the PAC, we're going to have a problem at the middle school and the high school. So we can move classes into the auditorium, we can move some classes to the middle school, we can move some classes to the high school where space is available. So no, the soundproofing that we installed isn't really going to do much, if anything, to be honest, to help with the outside sound. But it does help with the inside sound.
Okay. My second question is, what about the students that are in the modules?
We did talk about that. Mr. Strange is looking towards mod 3 and 4, which is the further away mod from the high school. They're changing schedules, I think the 20th. So he's looking into seeing if he can take the classes and bring them into the high school, so the kids aren't walking out to that mod. The closest mod, we've devised a plan to come right out that back door and right up and through the back entrance of the mods, so the kids aren't even going near the PAC.
And it's really, excuse me for interrupting, but it's like 2 steps out the door and then there's an
Oh,
entrance.
I realize that.
Okay, just so
That I
you know.
realize. I was more worried about the one that's further
Yeah,
down.
right.
We're trying to get those
The
kids
double
in,
there.
so that nobody's.
if
Well, I'm
this-
also thinking noise.
Yeah, that's, if
I
the
mean, let's
sound,
face facts, there are tin cans out there.
Yeah.
if that becomes an issue, just like you said, if there's that much noise, well, clearly we need to move those classes in. That's not even, whether it's the closest or the furthest, both would have to come
And
back into the
that's something we're
building.
working on right now.
So we need to have a couple
But
of
I
options.
guess that's my question. Is there room inside?
We'd have to find room. There'd be open rooms during the day.
Not the best, not the most convenient, but
Yeah.
Make it
That's what I'm trying to
It
figure
could
out.
It'd be like as inconvenient as being on a cart in terms of a traveling teacher. It's not, ideally, we'd like for them to stay in their home, but if we need to bring them in, we'll bring them in. So we'll need like an option A, option B. I don't know how much,
I'm gonna work with Scott and Scott Strange and see after January 20th, when that new schedule comes out, where we can put them.
What's the scheduled duration, I mean, the length of the project from when they start to?
So they've told us that early April to, I think it was the end of July, or mid-July, they should be completely done.
3 months.
So that was the thing is some people had asked, well, why don't you wait until the seniors leave? Or why, we didn't want to get in, we want to make sure it's ready for the opening of school. We didn't want it to get into August and into the open. So this will assure that we will definitely have it done for the beginning of school.
Well, either way you go, you're gonna be within school time, so with the amount of time it will take, either way.
Another factor is we were looking at was, what's the availability of the contractors? And this is what they said they could give us.
Which is in our time frame,
Yep.
which is what I was thinking right along, but like I said, it doesn't matter where you move it, it's still gonna be during school time.
Yeah, I feel like it would be, I feel like it was more disruptive to start the year than to end the year. So if they're both, neither one's ideal, but I think it's probably better at the end of the year because, people are wrapping things up. And at some point, the seniors will be, you guys will be riding off into the sunset, so we'll have some time.
More field trips, more available rooms.
Oh, the graduating scene.
There'll be field trips, kids, rooms will be clearer.
What's that supposed to mean,
Properly
Mr. D?
qualified.
Question, I'm sure this has been talked about, but clearly the spring, all the sporting events that are out back there, you're saying you're gonna be using the parking spots for equipment. You have so many little kids.
We're talking
running-
behind the PAC itself, not,
Right,
no.
Just
no,
right behind.
but behind,
Right.
right behind the pack, so nothing on that, that's okay.
Nothing on
Just
that,
wanna make
where the
sure, so
bus route
everything's
is,
gonna be
nothing out
contained
there.
in that area on
That
the
area.
inside.
That's
Yes.
my understanding, right?
Yep.
Yep,
Okay.
nothing is going to be
it's
Along
actually
that-
further out along that.
Nothing along that the back road that goes, okay, that's,
Perfect
just wanted to
staging
make
area.
sure. And I'm assuming it's all gonna be fenced off somehow,
Yes.
so that kids aren't gonna wander over there.
Work zone, right?
Yeah.
I'll take care of
As part of that.
So we may have some additional costs that may come up incidental to safety or anything like that that might come along that we may need to mitigate. just making the board aware of that. Right now, we are looking at that price difference about $21,184. And if the board has any questions, I'm happy to entertain any others with Mr. D and Gary here. Otherwise, if you wouldn't mind taking some sort of consensus action on that, I'd appreciate it.
Does anybody have any more further questions? Because I would like to actually address the dollar amount right now and just get it done and over with, so that we can do that. So does anybody have any more questions on the project?
As this gets closer, will you come back again and just give us an update to make sure that
Sure.
we feel better, that everything's being taken care of and the kids are good? and
Absolutely. Yep.
Why don't we,
Everybody's,
why don't we just put that on the,
Go on, John.
Yeah, when you want
on
your
for an
next
April or, whenever you're ready. And
it's just that I think that,
That's
once
absolutely
things
fine.
start getting solidified,
second meeting in April update, that makes sense?
Sure.
We'll probably be into it, but we're
Absolutely.
close to getting into it. Okay.
When did you want it again? I'm sorry.
Second meeting in April, does
Yeah.
that work for you guys?
Okay, is anybody,
Well, Brian's not getting any credit, obviously. Brian was
Sure.
very instrumental in helping put this together.
That's quite
So,
all
I
right.
mean, he's been
Brian
an
was a big
excellent,
part of this.
he's been an excellent liaison to the board, he really has.
He has been excellent.
kudos to Brian.
Thanks, Brian.
A Bitmoji?
Look for one.
Yeah.
Perfect.
So, with the delta amount for the $21,184, is everybody in agreement with that? And if so, I'd like to actually seek a motion to increase the total amount for the estimated of this project to $552,184, of which $21,184 would come from the current fiscal year's district's building improvement line.
so moved.
Second.
Motion made, seconded.
We'll let you get it all out there and I'll just,
I'm fine. Okay, any further discussion?
And there's no issue, as you were saying, with what was voted on and going higher with this amount?
No, we just wanted to treat it, like I said, as a not to exceed number. I think we would have been fine, but I think it's the right thing to do, where they voted on a number and it's going to be a little more than that.
Right, and I think those changes have been, we worked with the board on those to bring back.
Very well known, we've been talking about this for a long time, about
well,
this,
considering
increasing
we've
this,
gone from
doing this.
what, siding to brick,
A lot of work.
a lot of brick, and it's only $21,000 more than what we thought.
Did, who seconded?
I did.
Brian,
Thank you.
Sheila was,
No, I put Sharon O'Neill as seconding, but that wasn't
No.
right.
No, Sean just did the talking.
He talked, I so moved, second.
Thank you.
okay. If any other questions, we'll move to a vote. All those in favor? Unanimous.
Thank you, Mr. D, appreciate it.
Thank you.
Oh,
guys.
thank you. Thank you.
Thanks, Gary.
All right.
Mr. Paradis, are you sticking around?
Yeah.
Okay. I just got another question for you, on
what's that?
something else, on something else.
You wanna go
Is
now?
it, is it something that he's gonna be
Something you wanna do now?
presenting on, or is it something that?
I'm trying to do boilers here. Boiler replacement? Where's it?
Yeah.
Can I?
Chairman's prerogative.
What are you talking about?
Boiler replacement?
She had a
It's an
question on that.
executive summary.
Somebody, if you wanna
Yeah,
get a question.
if you wanna move to that, yeah.
That's not
I'm
something I won't
sorry,
be able to
but-
answer, you gotta answer.
No, I'm here.
But you can go home.
Yeah, no, go ahead and.
Do we have,
You're still in the sidelines, Angela, sit.
We got another sub coming in for
actually,
you.
this was done by Mr. Dowd, but because Mr. Paradis is on me.
Yeah.
Do we have prices on these things?
They're gonna be, this would be a schedule, I guess you wanted a replacement schedule. This would be what I would foresee as a schedule. An RFP is going out for pricing because, for bid, because of the amount.
Right, I just have no clue how much these things are usually, so that's
We
why. I'm asking.
I
had
think we had-
numbers
yeah, I
at
think you had them.
CIP, and Brian and I saw them.
Yep.
Kim saw
And
them,
unfortunately, I'm sorry, I don't have those numbers with me.
because we agreed to pull it into,
Yeah, I think it was into
so you
this
have
year's.
the numbers and you're
I
asking
didn't
for
realize.
numbers.
So those numbers that were given to us in the CIP were close numbers?
We're
Is that
close,
what
yes.
So it's all set.
It's all, yeah, it's
It's right in,
close.
it's right
It's in
there?
that ballpark,
All right, that's all.
I hope.
It's easy.
That was it?
I don't,
Is it?
I don't,
Oh, no, that's not it.
Don't,
no, I don't, and I don't want to
Stop.
open up a Pandora, no, you'll like this. I don't want to open a Pandora's box, but I will let the board know that we, although we have cost estimates, we will be looking for energy efficiency rebates from the utilities. Absolutely. That's all.
That's a good thing.
Yes.
Like I said, I didn't remember seeing.
Good.
Okay. I'm good, Sean, yeah. I'm all set.
You're it.
For now.
You're all set.
I got one more. Well, wait, I know, come on.
Ask us.
I'll sit with you. You coming back up?
Come on back on up.
All right, I'll sit with you.
May I approach?
You sure you can?
I don't know why people are walking away. Okay. So, in terms of a Title IX review and we conducted a self-study on the gender equity as it pertained to opportunities, facilities, and scheduling regarding our male and female programs. What had come out of that was a recommendation. A year ago, we had created a female coaches locker room, which was a long overdue and successful project. And through this process, we were recommending that we created another female team locker room. We have a PE locker room, and Gary and I had toured our existing facility in the athletic wing, and we were looking to see where and what we could possibly do. And I don't want to speak for you, but I think we really felt that the only potential option would be to take that girls' PE locker room, and there's a natural divide in there, that we could create two spaces, and in one of those spaces, try to create more of a
team.
a user-friendly team
Team.
atmosphere in there. And that would give the girls a second team room as well as the PE locker room, and that would create some equity right there. Other than that, we really, in looking at the facility ourselves, we really didn't see anything that we
I don't
could
see another option right now.
really do as an option.
How many,
Go ahead, Sue.
how many male locker rooms?
3.
So this would be a 3-2 non-equity, but
It would be 3
closer?
to 3.
It would be 3 to 3 if we bring it in, if we divide that.
3-3,
It would be 3 to 3. You're at
Taking
3 to
two
2
and
right
making-
now.
Taking one and making two.
right, 2 very small rooms.
They're actually, they'll be pretty large. Believe it or
Okay.
not.
And again, that is what we consider the only option right now. If there's something else, we'd be open to it, but we don't see it.
I don't want the board thinking that this is, these are going to be luxurious spaces.
We don't have any luxurious spaces at all.
Perhaps not, but I don't want, that the females have waited a long time. Illegal things. And I'm not saying they need to be luxurious, but they need to be of some reasonable size. It's ridiculous. You put a whole field hockey team, both teams, JV, freshmen, if we are lucky to have that, and a varsity team in there. That's a lot of females. Or all 3 softball teams, or all 4 softball teams, or whatever we happen to have, or all basketball teams, whatever. It's not like it's like 10 kids, 10 girls, women. I just want everybody to know it's smaller, it's small spaces.
Just a couple of things. I think, I appreciate the effort, and I know it's something we have to do. But I've done some building tours before, and these spaces have always been spaces that have been off limits for us to actually see. Because the timing of the tours, we've been told that students are still in the building, and it wouldn't be appropriate for us to view these spaces. So I think it would be helpful for board members to be able to actually see some of these spaces than just this. I'm just trying to understand how did we think we had 4, but there's really 3? What was that?
So inside, the configuration of the boys' PE locker room is a little bit different than the girls' PE locker room.
So I can't, like, I've
So
never
I-
seen this, so I can't.
And again, come on down, we met at 7:30 earlier in the week, we'll meet at 7:30 again, I'll get everyone out of the locker rooms. It's not its own, there's no bathroom facility or anything, it's just kind of a square box that's in there that the kids use in the boys. So I was counting it as a 4th locker room, and I was corrected, and they said, that's not a locker room,
Right.
it's within the locker room that you have. It has no bathroom facilities or anything like that. So that's when I said, okay, originally I was saying, well, is that a 4th? They said, no, it's really not, it's a 3rd. So it's 3 and 2. And the reality is right now in the winter, there's 2 boys' locker rooms and 2 girls' locker rooms. The other locker room that's used in the fall and in the spring by the football team and the baseball team it's not used by the boys in the winter. It's
Angelo,
It's too cold.
Can we just
too
do this so
cold.
people don't have to use their imagination? If you want to try to coordinate at a convenient time.
Yeah, anytime.
Whoever's interested, through Kathy with Angelo and
Yeah.
and try to work out whatever time works, and you clear the areas and get people in and out. If it's
Absolutely.
if it's at 6 before a meeting, if it's in the morning, whatever.
Yeah.
I think everyone's got their own and
Sure.
everyone's trying
No,
to picture something.
I
they haven't
agree.
seen.
I think it would be easier if people could see, what they're looking for and what they're looking at. So I think that would be easy.
We'll plan that somehow, right, in the near future.
Yeah,
Okay.
that'd be great.
If we could do that before March, I'd appreciate that. I'd like to be part of the tour.
I mean, it seems like we have some meetings over there coming up, whether it's the deliberative session, not that it has to be that night, or the public hearing, which is at the PAC. Those are nights that maybe 6 o'clock on one of those nights before the 7 o'clock meeting for a half hour. Maybe, I don't know, but I always want, whatever's
Sure.
convenient for folks.
Yeah.
right?
That's fine.
So the girls' PE locker room, is a PE locker room different than they're
The con-
referred to as PE?
The configuration of those locker rooms are different. So, for example, the configuration of the girls' PE locker room is different than the configuration of the girls' athletic locker room. And again, I know I'm trying to describe it to you when you're
But
probably.
can you not use a PE locker room for an
You
athletic?
can, but it's not conducive
Okay.
because of the way, and again, it will make more sense when you see it. It's just,
Well, I'll come see
I
it.
think visualize it.
yeah,
You'll-
it's hard
it's
to
do.
explain.
Okay.
Well, and part of the
Physically
thing,
seeing
sorry,
Nope. I'm
part of
sorry.
it too is the teams leave their equipment there.
Oh,
So
yes.
you have, like, football and boys lacrosse have big bulky
Right.
equipment and compared to field hockey or
But
or
they
girls
leave their
lacrosse, where they
equipment.
have just the goggles and the stick. So you have a little difference as far as equipment size, but these kids leave their equipment there. A lot of their equipment is their own equipment or school
Right.
equipment, and you don't really want the PE kids in with all this equipment. So there's that level of it as well.
But the
It's just-
config, and absolutely true, but when you see it, the configuration of a team room is different than the girls' PE locker room.
That's right.
That is not conducive for a coach to be trying to communicate at a halftime, or, there's
But we've
just
done
no. And it's probably, Sue will tell you, it's probably not the
Over
greatest,
40 years of doing it.
so.
No,
Yeah,
it isn't. And there's a lot of stuff in there.
Okay. Any other questions? Maybe since we're gonna be meeting next week for the public hearing, do you guys wanna meet together beforehand and maybe get a tour at that point?
That's the one day I can't do. I won't be
Huh?
here. That's the one day I won't be here.
If you're going to do this, when is
matter.
there a plan to do this?
When would you do it?
When would you do this work and what are the costs or? Have you
We're
priced
put-
it out yet?
Currently, we're putting costs together.
Okay.
But it's not in the CIP, no.
No?
That's a question I was gonna ask. I'm glad to see you doing it, but how come this didn't come up from a budget standpoint?
So, after researching this, we're looking into, if we do 50% demolition to a existing area, we gotta bring everything up to standards. So we're looking into trying to figure out how much demolition, how much relocating we're gonna have to do with showers or bathrooms or things like that to bring it to ADA compliancy or,
Equity.
whatever else that should come up for Title IX that we need. So that's what we're looking at now, so I can't give you an accurate cost at this point.
Well,
Brian?
we just went through completing our budget season here.
This just popped up on my radar.
Okay, so I give up. So where's the money gonna come from?
Surplus in June.
Well, I'm just asking the question here, obviously, because having,
well, no, I think, as you look at priorities, I mean, last year, this is a year later now, so we said we're
Yep.
gonna try to get projected surplus in advance, so if it looks like we're going to have, these are some of the projects that, although not budgeted in for next year, might be something the board may consider as a priority, something you might wanna take care of out of potential surplus this spring.
I agree, I like the thought, I'm just Obviously, it's kind of, we go through this process here, and actually, this board spent an awful lot of time talking about, you know, in the CIP and this kind of stuff, and it's always, as you've heard me say before, every time I walk through that back door, something new happens.
So if that's not it, then it wouldn't be budgeted for next year. I think you'd be budgeting next year for the following year, if it's something you need budgeted. So that's a decision the board makes, whether it's something priority you want to do now or down the road, you know, within 2 years.
But we need
though.
costs. We would need to know what the costs are,
Yeah.
what the implication is. Is it really a fix? I'm totally not convinced it's a fix, but
I like the idea.
But the good thing is you're hearing about it in January, not June.
I agree.
Sarah?
I just had a quick question as far as the scope of the project, because it mentions a wall, but also talking about equipment and the safety of the belongings of the athletes. Would the project include special lockers, individual lockers, so those athletes could store all their equipment safely and stuff, or it's literally just gonna be like a wall? Like, what's the
So
scope?
the wall is dividing, it's separating, there's a
space.
area.
Space, yeah.
But yeah, it's,
There's a natural divide.
so we're actually creating, where that natural divide is, 2 locker rooms.
Okay.
That's our only option. 2, yes, and then the scope of the work is to increase the size of some of the lockers.
Lockers, so that the kids can
And
leave.
put bathrooms in both
Put
sections?
bathrooms, Shower.
That's what we're looking to do. There is,
Then that's
there
not
is
allowed.
bathrooms right now. There's
In
on
one
side.
section.
Yep.
There's bathrooms, no, there's
on each
bathrooms
end.
on both
On
sides.
at both ends.
Yeah.
So again, we're looking at,
Showers on both ends?
yep. There's no meeting area, that's why, you know,
I know.
people taking, you've been in there.
Yeah, you're just gonna take up the meeting space that's in there and make it smaller.
My only question is, now that this has been identified as an issue, are we under any time frame to correct it? I mean, is it, is a Title IX issue, yeah?
Yeah, I think we're doing due diligence. I don't believe this puts us in any different position other than being
are right now.
proactive
Okay.
and
I
trying to address it in whatever best way the board thinks, you know, whether it was out of surplus, warrant article, I'm not suggesting that, or budgeting for it in the near future, but it's an issue that we need to kind of get on the radar, and
Yep.
so now it's on the radar. But this doesn't put us in any different position.
Okay, just want to make sure.
Well, we can't write a warrant article now when we don't have the figures. So it's either put it into next year or see what you want to do in June with numbers and with your surplus.
Yeah, I would imagine the direction, now knowing what you know, is go get us some numbers now
Yeah.
so that we
Yeah,
have. real
absolutely.
numbers to work with. That would be the next step.
Yeah, and what the other stuff would cost, yeah. Yeah, it wouldn't just be
Because
the wall.
it's, it's adding quick.
Anybody else have any more questions? Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Thanks, Gary.
Jeff, budgets.
Right, well, good evening again. We're talking about budgets. I don't believe that the operating budget has experienced any changes since our last meeting. So that leaves the question on our board default budget. I believe I included a fresh copy of that for you in your packet. And I think you had some questions, needed some time to consider some aspects, I think, involving the 2,900 accounts. And so I will ask the board if there are any changes, updates, or questions that you have to your default budget.
You're saying you put in the packet did you say you put in our packet a budget?
The default budget's in there.
Of the budget.
Sure,
All right,
yeah.
Thanks. That's good. Thanks for the assist.
Anytime, Brian.
So I did, between the last meeting and this time, meeting, had the opportunity to look at RSA 40:13-9B. And based on that and the New Hampshire School Board's budgeting workshop of 2018, it appears that we should be taking the 2,600 lines or the 2,900 lines that you reduced in the proposed budget to the same level in the default budget. So when I do that, I find that the default budget should come in at 72,174,779.
Say that number one more time, please.
72,174,779. That reduces line 2,900, 210 by 245,000. These numbers are just from the 1219 handout that you provided to the board.
They look different tonight, though, Kim. Is that right, Jeff?
Sorry?
Are the numbers different tonight than they were December 19th?
No, don't look at I'm not looking at this cover sheet on this. I'm looking at the document that we got before, on December 19th.
Okay.
So comparing it to December 19th's paperwork, okay.
Right, so the numbers you're looking at don't reflect the reductions in the proposed budget that we were presented on the 19th. There was a reduction in the insurance due to trend of 245,000, FICA of 306, retirement 472, and retirement of 200,000. So I'm proposing that we move the default budget down to the level of the proposed budget per RSA 40:13, which says that I don't know if you want me to read the whole thing, but it should say, the addition was by salaries and benefits of positions that have been eliminated in the proposed budget. That was an add-on to RSA 40:13.
That was the new piece that got
That's the
added
new piece. So due to the,
Read that again, Kim?
do you want me to read the whole?
No, that's.
That add-on piece to the
Gone through this a million times.
RSA is pertaining to the default budget, says, and by salaries and benefits of positions that have been eliminated in the proposed budget. So the default budget should be reduced by one-time expenditures contained in the operating budget and by salaries and benefits of positions that have been eliminated in the proposed
Have
budget.
been eliminated in the proposed budget.
I'm sorry, Kim, can you read that first part again? The reduce to the operating budget?
Reduced by one-time expenditures contained in the operating budget. I can read the whole thing. Default budget is used in this subdivision means the amount of the same appropriations as contained in the operating budget authorized for the previous year, reduced and increased, as may be the case, by debt service contracts or other obligations previously incurred or mandated by law, and reduced by one-time expenditures contained in the operating budget and by salaries and benefits of positions that have been eliminated in the proposed budget.
Eliminated in the proposed budget is the key phrase there.
Well,
I think-
benefits is not defined.
No.
Positions eliminated is a little more tricky, but we're not, we're just talking about benefits. And it,
Gotcha.
given that we were taken to court last year by former school board members, I think it's only prudent to follow the RSA exactly as it reads in terms of these two budgets should align.
Yeah, that's how I would understand that. I would understand the salaries would match. That's how I understand what you just read.
So, using the business administrator's numbers and reducing the 2,900 lines, that's where I'm proposing that the board move forward a default budget of 72,174, 779.
All right, one more time, Kim, sorry.
72,174, 779.
Okay.
And which exact lines are you,
Yeah,
sorry?
could you please,
What lines am I
are
reducing?
you looking at the
Line.
Exactly.
insurance trend, the
20
200?
Yeah, 2,900, 210.
Yeah, Insurance trend, 245.
Right,
And we'll-
2,900, 220 was FICA. It was a true-up, it's $390.
A true up of 390?
306,
Thank you.
306, sorry.
Okay,
2,900, 231, that's a retirement
true up.
true-up, 472, and then 2,900, 232 is 200,000 for retirement.
Okay, so
And that's a
those-
trend.
So just the 2,900 lines.
Yeah,
what we're looking
that's,
at.
yeah,
Right.
just that block.
I think you're reducing it more though.
So
Kevin,
my,
not the number he's
just,
working on right
I'm just trying to understand this, my question, so
now. 9.6, and you put-
were those,
That
I-
doesn't reflect this.
I don't have a line by line of what positions were eliminated. And so, when I read that and listen to that, were those insurance lines decreased because of positions that were eliminated in the proposed budget? Or were they decreased because our rate came in better?
Positions eliminated.
Well, that's already been taken off, though.
What's that?
That was already,
The rates were already calculated in, weren't they?
right.
So the rate change was already calculated in that?
I believe so.
Okay,
So this is positions that are not in the,
okay, I just wanted to make
it's
sure
the
that's what it was.
benefits for the positions.
Yeah,
that are
that's what I
not
was just trying to understand,
in the-
is
yeah.
it, is that truly what that is, or is, okay.
Kim, I think Kim's figured it out, yeah.
Because that, so on the 19th, the budget was 72, 620,
Right.
577.
Yep.
And I
557.
reduced it by 445,798, which is what these numbers are.
Yeah.
And that's where I'm coming up with the other number.
All right, Kim, I have 72, 620, 557.
625 instead of 620.
Nope.
557, you're right, it's 557.
620, 557.
Correct? That's what we all have in front of us.
620, 557.
Then subtract her
And then I should subtract out 445, 779. 72, 174, 778.
Oh, 778.
72, 174, 778.
779.
A new number. Somebody can verify that.
You know.
That's what I'm gonna- let's look at Jeffy's. Is he following you or no?
Are you following where that number's coming from?
Yeah, I've got 72, 174, 779, so,
Well,
yeah. If the changes are as you've proposed, that final number would be 72, 174, 779.
779,
Nine.
779.
Yep. I have just changed rounding on my end, but that's not a big deal.
Yeah, it rounds off
Yeah, okay.
in 32 cents and half a penny.
So 72, 174, 779.
But to those numbers that Kim just read off, that's what matches the proposed budget.
Correct. Yeah, your first line was 2,900, 210.
2900, 210, right?
Yep, 244, 999.51 is what I have. You might have 244, 245 maybe?
I have 245.
Yeah. So that's it. The others were correct. I did hear the rest to match, to have the operating, to have the default match the operating.
Now, did you touch those lines with the budget committee's directive to make their number? Is that,
Correct.
so these are, it's not exact, I mean, obviously, matching the lines is really what the school board's doing. They're matching what you decided to budget for.
Correct.
Okay.
For the operating budget.
Because that's not an exact number.
That's right.
What's not an exact number?
It's not an exact number when you budget for benefits, because he's budgeting, he's got some sort of formula where if I have 1,000 people, this many people might take this, they might take that, whatever, it's a trend or whatever, so it's not an exact number. But the numbers match, that's an exact number. So if there's issues with the 2,900 line, it's really more about how they're budgeted at the budget committee level, not
Right.
what the school board matches with the default number.
I don't, the statute doesn't reference the operating budget, I don't believe.
No, but we're referencing it.
Proposed budget.
We're matching the numbers, right?
Right.
So whatever number you had in there, that's what they're gonna put in the default number, that's what they're
In
telling
the,
you.
in the proposed operating budget.
Correct.
Yeah.
The statute references the proposed budget.
Yeah, it says
Yes, it
proposed
does.
budget.
Because there's assumptions made there that whatever you're proposing, you either, if it's lower, that you eliminated something.
Right.
And then eliminating it here. So that's where,
That's what
Well-
I was asking.
yeah, and that's why my concern is, do you have enough money? And I believe you do, because you wouldn't have proposed it in the proposed budget to cover the
Well, that's-
benefits. There's assumptions made that are pretty easy to make. There's reference, inferences drawn there, right?
Right, yeah.
Number is a solid number, because you wouldn't have, why would you propose less than you need?
Well, the reason that we've proposed less than we need is because, or potentially need, and I guess what our need is defined as what we actually are going to, in fact, incur. But not all of our employees are on insurance for a full year, not all of our employees start insurance right away. And we don't have a full slate of hires throughout the year. So that's where my number comes from. I mean, by all right, I should be budgeting for all employees that we have to have benefits all year.
Well,
And in the operating budget, I've taken some
Well, yeah,
liberties.
You get a max case, and that'd be every employee with a family coverage and stuff, and you could probably take that line item and quadruple it easily.
No, what I you would normally do is say, well, let's look at what our average participation is and what our average,
You
and
put
say,
some
what's the,
sums into it.
take your average plan and now multiply it by the number of employees that you have, right? With the exception, in this case, I'm not doing that. I'm saying, well, I'm gonna take the average number of plans that the average plan, the number of employees, but I know that over the course of the year, I'm gonna have some positions that are open for a couple months here and there, that's gonna cause some gaps in that insurance. I know people, when they start, may not start right away on insurance. I know someone who starts with our district in September may not, have those 2 months of insurance. So I took some liberties on the operating budget side, reflecting the fact that I'm not budgeting for what we need. What we need is, the average plan per employee class multiplied by the number of employees, but that we have in the budget. But again, I know we're gonna have some openings. I know we're gonna have some gaps. I know we're gonna have some times. And those times, it turns out, have been adding up historically. Those times that we have those positions open, that we have an employee without insurance or a position without insurance for a couple months here and there, has been adding up. So I really am not budgeting what we need. What we need is probably the average cost per employee class multiplied by the number of employees. Not the highest, not the lowest, just the average. But in this case, we've taken and said, yeah, I know we're gonna have some gaps in there.
well, I seem to recall, especially the kind of discussion last year, and then School Board Association came down, we all went over to the library and had this training. I recall proposed and default and salary and benefits is what they were pretty much saying. This is what you should do. Which makes sense, because theoretically, no matter what budget the vote is, if the proposed fails and it goes to default, you need those people.
Right.
Brian,
So you need-
here's where that wouldn't make sense, right? Let's say we proposed 20 new positions, and they were in the proposed budget. Those numbers would be much higher than you'd have in your default. The numbers wouldn't match, correct?
No, because you have to increase the default.
You can't. They weren't
No,
in the
not-
previous years,
No,
they weren't in the previous year's
budget.
budget. I'm saying if we propose new positions, we could not put them in a default.
That's right.
But one is directly tied to another, so that benefit expense would not be incurred unless the operating budget passed, so.
I know, but your default would be lower than you proposed in that
That's right.
instance. If they were all new positions, we're not doing that. So I don't wanna confuse people.
Yeah, don't.
I'm just saying, that would be an example when the lines would not be the same. Cause we'd be proposing spending more, but we're not doing that. That's not where we are. Right now, we reduced some positions, so that's why the numbers are the same.
So what you read, Kim, was the RSA. It wasn't one of those, they had like this little worksheet type thing, remember that?
No, I read the RSA.
She read that.
Right, you read the RSA.
And I remember that discussion when we had the workshop, that's when it wouldn't work out.
The RSA, the
Can't
new
put that
RSA,
in
sorry,
the
the new
default.
RSA gave you the opportunity to adjust your default down in the event that you eliminated positions and benefits.
That's right.
It didn't say adjust it up if you added.
No, it just said down.
That would be counterintuitive to what the spirit of that law was, really.
Yeah.
Do we have a list of what positions we reduced?
Reduced positions, we've repurposed them.
We haven't reduced any positions.
We've repurposed multiple open and vacant positions, but we haven't eliminated positions.
No.
These were positions that, I mean, I think if we're looking at
The
what we moved
benefits
forward, these
people.
would be positions that were not filled the previous year. Because we always get into
Okay.
last year, this year, next year.
So
We're-
these
we're-
are positions
this is
that
2
were
years
already
ago,
unfilled that now we are, okay.
from a year ago,
Okay,
right?
no, that's fine, I'm
Correct?
good with that.
Correct, we haven't-
Thank you.
So
Salary.
if the board is in agreement with this number, what we need to have done before the public hearing, which is next week, is that we just need to update, this default budget needs to be given out to the voters, right? At the public hearing next week, right? We need to disclose this and what the additions and deletions are, or reductions. So can we get, I mean, it's just those 4 lines that you'll need to adjust downward, and then we'll have a new cover sheet here.
Right, and what would the,
We'll probably vote on that tonight.
Well,
I really need, I really need you to vote on it tonight. I really need to come up with something
okay, I'm
tonight.
gonna vote
I
to
know,
move a
well-
default
Yeah.
budget of 72,174,779.
Is it a motion?
Yes,
Can you say the number one more time, please?
72,174,779.
Thank you.
And I'll second it.
Sue, second.
Yes, Sue does, second it.
Any further discussion? Not call for a vote. All those in favor? All those opposed? Oh, that was all unanimous, I'm sorry. Unanimous.
Thank you.
If I could ask, what would you like those lines annotated? On the default explanations?
You had 'em bracketed.
Retirement calculated operating budget
Okay.
is your two, you already have that line noted. The 231 line, the 232 line. TTA
Retirement classified
net
trust.
against level funding. I think. $2,900, you've already said default, insurance decrease. I think you just put, as you've already done, that these are decreases.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Do you want to try to run that to make sure that those numbers are exact?
I ran them just now, and they, as long as it's a 779, it works, so,
I just don't want it to be off. like
I know. I know, that's why I was,
$1,000 or $5,000, you know, just a number's a number, but it.
I mean,
it match.
should match.
so what you voted on is 72,174,779.
And that works with your numbers when you.
Do those reductions.
Exactly.
Yep. Well, we have a default budget, thank you.
The default budget.
Yes. Anything else? Any other questions, comments?
Not that I can think of.
So, if you looked at this, so part of the budget discussion was also, you do have a public hearing. So the budget committee presents the budget, but then members of the school board present the default budget, as well as any warrant articles, any money warrant articles, or actually put them all on. Any warrant articles that are there, it's a preview to the public, but you do have to disclose, you have to present any money things to the public at the public hearing.
Okay.
So, I don't know if you want to designate certain board members to do that, is that part of it? You want to be thinking about that? You want to think about meeting at the public hearing in advance of that, to go over and assign some of those slides? I know that they'll be working on creating some of those slides.
Okay.
So it's just the logistics of that, you might want to discuss that.
I think last year as we went through each one of these, we.
Yeah, I assigned people.
Yes.
Or I asked you to do it.
Yep.
You want to sign them now?
If we're moving on to this agenda
Yeah, it's
item,
basically
then
gonna be-
we
yeah,
can
it's
do
basically
it.
gonna be that, right?
Yep.
So it's just the money articles.
And if any citizens petitions come in, then they can just be read out loud, but they don't have to be discussed or anything, or they could be discussed if petitioners are there. The deadline for that is next Tuesday.
So it's 3,
So
4,
we'll do,
and 6.
so the budget committee will deal with the operating budget, Article 2.
Right, so
and
we
then
would
we'll
do
go on to
3, 4, and 6, I think, are the
Yeah,
money
3.
ones.
The default budget, yes, we can speak to that.
the default budget needs to be disclosed and presented. That's, I think that's what Kathy
Gotta have a
is
handout.
alluding to,
Right.
per RSA.
So you need a slide.
Want to do the presentation?
I'm going to say no, just because I'm not sure I can make it
Okay.
for 7. If I'm there, I'll do it, but I'm not sure what my meeting schedule is that day.
You think,
We'll figure that one out. So let's move to Article 3. Capital Reserve Fund surplus.
You don't have language for that yet? I don't think that is, oh, no, I'm sorry, that is the one you have, sorry.
Yep.
Is tonight the night that we,
I thought it was after,
Right, the
Your
recommendations?
tallies, that's after the public hearing.
okay.
we vote after, but
That's correct.
You
Need to
have that
present.
meeting right after the public hearing, and then you take your votes.
Oh, boy.
Make your
Okay.
recommendations, yeah.
You recommend, you vote on your
Because that's what
recommendations.
appears on the warrant for the deliberative session.
Remember you and the budget committee go to separate meetings?
I know, I can't be here for the public hearing.
I'll do the capital reserve one if you want me to, Sean. That's our pretty standard, you know, unless someone else wants to do it. Lee, you want to
You
do it?
know what?
Oh,
I
thought
think
you
that
said-
if everybody's in agreement, I mean, everybody's here, a full board. I mean, there's no reason why we can't put our recommendations on these warrant articles right now as we go through them.
I thought that's what we did last year. We did it here, and then we adjusted it after the public hearing if there were any changes.
Two things. One is that you've got an infrastructure maintenance and repair. We don't have language for that yet. I know that, Tim, you were working with legal on
Well,
that, but I've not heard anything
Well, that's
from
the
them.
idea of having the hearing, the public hearing, is to add new information that might make us change our mind or do something different with the article. So if it doesn't show that we've already either recommended or not recommended, we've gone around this a million times. But,
Last year, though, didn't we vote here in this room?
Yeah.
and then I brought it back up. Was there anything that was
Yes.
different that you want to change, or da-da-da-da-da-da-da?
Well, the difference then might have been that you had all your articles finalized and complete.
Yeah.
You don't have them now. The second thing is that even though you may not vote at the public hearing or after the public hearing, you will have an opportunity to express your decision after the deliberative session as well. So there's another opportunity, if there are members of the board who weren't here or weren't able to vote in the first time, they get to vote in the second time.
Only if it's changed.
I think that we talked about that.
That's in deliberative.
I don't
That's
think
at the
that was-
deliberative.
Yeah, but I don't think that, I think that
Not at the
that's what
hearing.
we thought, but it turned out that we were not correct, that you could.
I'm not sure.
Well,
I
if
don't
somebody
wanna
can
be
I
bad
maybe,
about
don't see, I
can
don't
I-
see any reason.
Can I call into that? I can't call in because it's not here.
You can put you on speaker on someone's phone.
You could, for
You can
for
call
the
it for the
hearing
vote.
afterwards, you could.
Yeah, I just want to make sure that, that everybody is reflected on there, and I don't think I'll make it here in time for that, but we'll see.
And that should be like at 8 o'clock, right? It shouldn't be a long, the public hearing.
I won't, I know I won't,
No, but after is when you
Understand
put the
why this isn't
recommendations
like
on.
a
if
I
you-
won't be here.
Oh, but you could call
They've
in.
already voted on their articles.
The question I have is, we only have, what is it, one warrant article that we haven't has the value yet. So that one's, which is number 6, right?
That's not even the language, we're not even sure what the language is
Well-
gonna look like.
Well, correct, but,
But
you know,
you
this
have
one
the-
that we just did with the Article 3, I mean, that's
That's our
pretty much
stand.
every year, it's gonna be
Sure.
the same thing every year. I probably can tell you it's gonna be the same thing next year.
And 4 is the same.
I think we could vote on that and move on,
Okay,
you know?
Vote on 2, can we?
you wanna do that?
We can vote on, well, I mean, we're on, talking with warrant Article 3, so let's do that one and finish that up completely. So Sue's gonna present that to the public at the public hearing. So,
Unless somebody else wants to do it. I don't want to take anyone else's thunder. It's just that I've done it before.
I think everybody took a step back.
But I heard Lee say he wanted to do it. That's why I was. I
good
really
try.
saw it. You were talking. I thought, oh, he thought. I don't want
I
to
think
step
he
on
was
anyone's
actually hiding
toe.
under the desk.
Oh, okay.
Okay, so,
Wanna make that motion
Mar-
now? While
yes,
you're
I'm
on
gonna
it?
take that. So for Article 3, I mean, do you want me to read it? Are everybody fine with the language here with regards to the putting $250,000 into the capital reserve fund?
Move that we recommend Article 3.
Yes. So the motion is to, we'll seek a motion to recommend warrant Article 3.
Sue did
We just
recommend.
did.
I'll second.
Sue did it.
Okay, yeah.
Okay, Sue, and then Jen? Okay, we're gonna vote. All those in favor? Unanimous?
Thank you.
Okay, warrant article 4, the 3-year collective bargaining agreement, Timberland Support Staff Union.
Somebody that did the personnel?
You wanna do that one, Brian?
Brian
sure.
can present? Okay.
No problem.
And that language has been finalized.
Yeah.
So
I'm
I am
happy to
going
handle it.
to
She's
seek
calling
a recommendation by the
I
school board
recommend.
Sheila
for
Rose,
warrant
thank
article
you.
4.
Second.
Made by Sheila, seconded by Jen. Any further discussion? If not, call for a vote. All those in favor? Once again, unanimous. Warrant article 5, the authorization of a special meeting on cost items.
I'll read that one.
I don't think you have to in the
When you
hearing,
get that one, you get 2 for, it's a 2 for.
No, no.
because
that
it's
was
not a
wrong.
money article,
I
but
volunteered that one. Oh, I don't have to do that one because
I
it's
don't,
money?
I don't,
I think that all the articles are gonna be on the, are gonna be on the.
oh, so you, yep,
Okay, I'll
Okay.
take that one. It's nice and short
do
and
the
easy.
money articles.
Okay, so I'd seek a motion to recommend by the school board for warrant article 5.
I'll make the motion.
Sheila makes the motion, is there a second?
Second.
Kristen? Okay, I'll call for a vote on that one. All those in favor? Once again, unanimous. We know that Article 6 is the infrastructure maintenance and repair.
Well, we need to discuss Article 6.
So can we go back to 1?
Okay,
Do what we need to do there and then go back to 7 and then,
well, Article 2.
or 2 rather?
This is presented by BudCon and a board member, right?
Article 2.
Yep.
Would do the default.
I don't mind doing the default if I'm there, I'm just giving you
Heads
notice that I may not get there in time.
We'll stall.
Well, Kim is the number 1, and then have a number 2. I bet
Kristen
you'll get there.
volunteered to do it if I'm not there. Thank you. Thank you for volunteering.
I'm not volunteering. There's money, we got it. Please vote the budget.
Okay, for our warrant article number 2, the operating budget. The recommendation by the school board.
Move that we recommend Article 2.
Motion is made by Kristen, is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Kim. Any discussion? Call for a vote. All those in favor? All those opposed? All those abstaining. So it's,
2-0.
yep. Okay,
Number
okay.
6.
6. Okay, so, sorry, can I discuss 6?
Yep, go.
So, for Article 6, and I think I had the discussion with Brian and the superintendent.
Here you go. Just so we're good.
At some point, no, I was looking to find out a list of projects that are included in this year's proposed budget, because you've got about 1.5 million in the proposed budget, correct? That should the proposed budget not pass, that we want to put some of those projects onto the warrant.
You want
As a
to
separate-
state them?
I want to state the project and the amount, we can't have just this, we can't have this sort of wording. We need to say the same thing as we did for to raise and appropriate $500,000 to do XXX. But I don't have the list.
I didn't bring my CIP stuff, because I had the list.
I'm looking, and I asked for it, and I did not get what I needed unless it came short. We need the list of the CIP that is in the proposed budget. It's gotta be somewhere. I'm not looking at you, Sue, I'm looking, where is the list of CIP projects that are in the
Projects.
proposed budget?
Yeah, I'm pulling it up now for it.
Okay, I
Do we
think,
want to go to the next one while he looks that up?
yeah, I think,
But there's a different question. It's a different question only because it's not all of them, and the question was really, what is the list of projects that
And what
would
is
be
the
a priority up to $1 million? And then I got from you a week ago, a year out, and I wanted something for this year.
That was my understanding. I thought we had done this year.
We have done this year. We did this year. Yeah, we did this year at the CIP.
For next year.
I'm looking for
Meeting on it
next year.
I mean, I'm talking, when I say this, I'm talking about the budget, what we're talking about right now.
Talking
This
about
warrant
proposed
article.
Proposed budget. We have the some places the list that we created. But I'm thinking, Kim, you know, it's gotta say something about, not limited to, one of those things. You can't have it say, you know,
Right,
it's
right.
gotta be, you know, a sidewalk, or we can't, you gotta have some legal language in there to cover spending about $1 million. If we can get all those projects.
No, I'm not looking to spend, I mean, this is, I understand what you're saying, but there's 500,000 in the default budget for maintenance.
Right.
Essentially. There's $1.5 million in the proposed budget. I don't think we're gonna be looking at going up to $1 million in this. I think we should be looking at projects that we, should the proposed budget not pass, that we could potentially ask voters to fund.
You wanna have specific projects.
I do, and if it's a no means no. So, and that's why I think we need to do it that way. You can't, I talked to Jim O'Shaughnessy, you can't have this sort of vague language. You've gotta go, you have to raise and appropriate for
So
something.
we need that list.
And I need we need a list.
We need a list of things that are not a
No,
top.
no, that are in the proposed budget for maintenance, that comes to about $1.5 million,
No,
almost $2
but what I'm
million.
saying is,
You don't want
you
the
don't
top
want, I was
priorities.
gonna say, you don't want the top priorities, because if no means no and something happens, then we're stuck not being able to do
That's
those top
correct.
priorities.
That's right, that's,
Yeah,
and that's
that's
why I
why
wanted it prioritized.
You get limited doing it that way.
And the risk is, and I'll just state the obvious, the risk is then you wouldn't be able to take money out of surplus
That's right.
next spring to do the things you wanted to do if you put them into this article.
Which is why I said I would not take the top priorities. I wouldn't take the first $1 million.
Gotcha,
I'd move down to the,
I got you.
Lower tier.
yeah,
Not that there was much in the lower tier as we've moved through now that's getting,
I know, but
I'm not sure there's, if I could, I'm just not sure there's things in that 1.5 million that aren't all priorities.
I know.
Yeah.
I realize they're all priorities, but there's always,
Yeah, I mean, obviously, there's something that's,
there's something.
yeah,
And
there's
I
something
don't
that you
see
wouldn't
us-
wanna hear no to, right?
Are you proposing we itemize them all in Article 6 or create a separate article for each one?
Because I don't have a list, I couldn't, we might wanna do 2 articles. We might wanna say, well, you vote for, you know,
X dollars for
boilers,
5
X
projects.
dollars for boilers, or X dollars
I
for,
would think you'd want to have one article.
We were,
You don't want to complicate
you were like,
this thing.
you wanted me to keep the boilers out of it.
No, no, the
no,
boilers are not.
I am, I'm
know
just
you
She's
sorry.
just using
That's
it,
the
you know.
only thing I can think of. off the
Candy and
top.
gum is in one warrant, and
I
Ice
can't
cream's in the next
imagine
one.
Let me
stuff
throw
like
something
boilers. I
totally
can't imagine
different
people voting against
on this.
boilers.
they're not in
What if
there.
instead of trying to define each and every one of these things, what if we decide to, you know, we have this up at the town, is we have an infrastructure capital, you know, capital reserve fund. Establish that, ask for, you know, the $1 million or whatever dollar amount to put in there, and then ask for the school board to be agents to expend from that
We
fund.
just did this.
We
last
tried that, and we
And it
couldn't, they
failed.
would, they said no.
We
They
already
wouldn't let
have
us
it.
be the
year.
spending
We have a
agent.
capital reserve fund already.
That's for
Sean.
land and buildings, yeah.
And we asked to be the agents for it, and it failed, so
Said no.
Is it worth trying to do that again?
No.
I don't think so. I-
A lot of districts, the board is the agent.
Right, right.
I will suggest that we keep it to one warrant article.
And I'm fine with that. We just need, we need
I
to,
think we should just leave it at one, because if you
Well, how about,
do 2,
how about for the sake of time, he has the list of, you have it before the public hearing, so you can, you know what, I mean, we have to get the language anyway. If the direction the board says, come up with your projects, not the top priority, so not the first $500,000 worth, but the bottom two-thirds of that, come up with a list of projects that would be in that bottom two-thirds,
It should be.
and then we'll work on the language, and you'll have that for the language for your article.
yeah, I mean, it should be standard language. This is,
It is pretty
it's not gonna be like this kind of,
But we all understand, yeah, we all
It's gonna
understand
be
the risk,
usual
because
language.
if we identify the
It's-
projects
We'll
and
run it
it
by
fails,
legal
we're,
anyway. It all gets run by legal.
right?
there's a risk, but there's, if the
But
default,
it's the right way to do it.
if the
No,
proposed doesn't, you
Yeah.
might as well see if you can do something.
But we'll be sure to not tie your hands in a sense if there's things that you would have wanted to do out of surplus next spring, they shouldn't be in this article.
Correct.
Right.
So we have to think about, you have to think about that, right? So when you identify
That's
what's
why I
in
think
here.
it should be included, but not such as such and such a project, but not limited to.
Because the argument will be that you've
Covers
been
us
told
more
no
legally.
twice, right? Do we agree on that? The article, you would have been told no twice
Right.
when you pick these. If they both fail, if the proposed failed and this article failed.
Mm-hmm.
So you've asked, the same question twice, different ways. All right, so is everyone comfortable with that? We'll get the language and the project and get that to you. Hopefully, can we have it for tomorrow, Monday, so they have it well in advance of Thursday?
He just went upstairs, so I can
Email it
just.
out to us?
Yeah, and then when we get out, if you have concerns with what was picked, let us know, and then we'll,
Yeah.
we'll kick and punch it to get it to where you're comfortable.
You didn't bring your
We can't deliberate over
CIP stuff, did you?
No, I did not.
Right.
Well, and you also, as you're pulling this together, you need to think about what's in this current budget cycle for projects and anticipate what may be left as surplus that could go to some of those projects that are actually out. So there's
there's
there's quite a bit of thought you've got to, bring together on it.
This year, next year, right? Like, what recommendations are we gonna come to the board with in the spring of, like, in the event that we have an opportunity to get some things done? Keep them out of this.
Okay. So
I think there's
number
a-
6
So is that
gonna
gonna
be
go to you, Kim, so that you can look over that project, so?
I think we
So
should all get.
It's gonna come all,
How
how about this? It's gonna come on out. If you got any comments,
shit,
get it back
that's
to me and
right. Sorry.
I'll funnel them back to Dr. Metzler.
Right.
and
Yeah,
Jeff.
just don't hit reply all, just send them back to Sean and then.
Right, but Kristen just said, well, we're here next week. I said, yeah, public hearing. she
I
said.
forgot, yeah, I'm thinking
So
meeting.
we're
but
on
no.
short time here.
Okay,
Correct.
number 7.
Number 7.
Oh, boy.
Okay, 7.
Moving on to 7, the withdrawal from SAU 55. That is the correct wording.
Yes, I verified with our attorney.
This is not it.
I did not request that she come to the public hearing, but I have requested that she come to the deliberative session. Is everybody okay with that?
Yep.
Yep.
Okay. Jen, do you wanna take this one?
Jen's not gonna be there.
Motion to,
Hey, you're not
Yeah,
here.
it's this column.
Yeah,
It's
year
this
one.
21, yeah. this is
No,
the
I'm
new
not.
column. So, other than,
Okay.
Lee?
go past the district stuff.
In regards to this warrant article, and I emailed Sean and Mrs. Belcher, we have received the official notice from the Department of Ed. And from the attorney's suggestion, is that we post that notice
This one?
with all the documents as they are usually typically posted
Yeah,
for
I've
the
already
public,
set that
so.
aside, I understood your message. It's
So,
already posted all
okay.
online, and so it'll be part of the warrant article, part of the deliberative session packet.
Yeah,
for
okay.
posting.
So I just wanted to let the board know, you'll see, and the public know, you'll see that notice because it's by statute, it's supposed to be noticed, and that would be the way to notice it. So, everything should be all set with that.
Okay. All right, let's seek a motion to recommend.
I'll
warrant Article
recommend.
7. Motion made by Sheila. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Jen. Okay, any further discussion? Not call for a vote. All those in favor? Okay,
7?
all those opposed? All those abstain? 7-0-2, excuse me, 7-2-0.
Thank you.
Excuse me, the last one.
It's not a
General
lot.
acceptance of reports. That's the two
Not a lot
first.
on this list.
Yeah,
Oh, you want me again? I'll do that one
Sure.
again. I'll do that one again. Brian's got the hard one,
It's $1,000,008.
Sheila's gonna do 8. And I take a motion to recommend.
It's $1,000,005.
Motion made by Lee for warrant article 8 to
Second.
recommend, seconded by Kristen. Any further discussion? Call for a vote, all those in favor? Yes.
So did everybody get a copy of
The only
this?
article that you won't be able to participate in, Jen, on public hearing would be the citizens petitions that might come in between now and Tuesday. and then she can vote on them.
They don't normally recommend on those then?
They do, actually. The board does. The board recommends, makes a
Well, we're all
statement
gonna
on
see
every
them.
single one
I
of
don't
them.
think
We're
we did
really all
last
gonna
year.
see them at public
About
hearing.
money articles we
It's
do.
money.
No, that's just budget committee. Yeah, budget committee does money only.
Oh.
Right.
Okay, we're done with the warrant articles?
It's a choice, though.
Did you get a copy of the CIP that he passed around?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you're gonna have to disregard the, what I call the IT stuff. That's not part of the 1.5 that we're suggesting, so look at those projects under 2021 that you might be, there's a $50,000 one, a $27,000 one, that you could pick and choose from and put those kind of things on the list. They'd be down the list of priorities, right, Kim?
Yeah, yeah.
Door, retractable doors, classroom furniture, that kind of stuff.
I'm not so sure, I understand your logic here, but I'm not so sure I buy it. I find this hard to believe that the voters would turn down boilers and paving repairs.
Right, ventilation systems and
I find that hard to believe.
ADA compliant stage
Well,
areas.
that's,
No,
So if we close in Sandown, we just, what do you think, close the school?
Listen, I'm just telling
Summers.
you the way the voters go.
Summertime, summer hours?
That's what the voters go. They don't pass a thing.
If there's any money, yeah, I think she's right, if there's any money, it's a lot of,
It's gonna fail. I'm just,
So the
sorry,
question-
Brian, but that's just the way
The
it's
question that you
been.
get is that if you put boilers in the warrant article and it fails, then
No, I understand the question, Joe,
Yeah.
but I'm just trying to understand the flip side of it. So if I'm a resident, I'm going to vote, I'm gonna vote against a boiler or a paving repair. I'm not,
I'm not sure everybody reads it.
in lighting. But if you put that kind of specific things in the warrant article,
I get someone saying, I'm voting against a new kitchen. I get that. But,
yeah, but Brian, if you look at the 2021, you'll see there's only $400,000 in there for boilers.
I-
And that's in the default budget already.
no, you have, that's other boilers, we had, that that 390 is just as for district boilers. My point, Kim, is if this thing is kept to if you treat it like a household type thing, it's I just don't understand how you don't replace a boiler.
it'll become an emergency situation.
Yeah, I just
And
don't, I don't know how.
Well-
The average voter is gonna be disconnected from the decision, right? So they're gonna look at it and say, it's a boiler. I have a boiler. I'm gonna roll the dice. Maybe it breaks, maybe it doesn't. They're not as close to the situation, and they don't recognize the dire need for it. They just see, boiler,
They just-
$1 million.
And they see money.
No.
They see dollar
And
signs.
that's why it behooves the school board members to be supportive and
Right.
try to
Absolutely.
educate our public, right?
But that aside,
But
I
Brian,
understand about the no means no, but what is the deal here from even from a legal standpoint of, if you had to do something like heat, and if you had, what call them, the potholes and whatnot, there's gotta be something that trumps the, from a legal standpoint, to keep the place open.
I think that's when isn't there some clause that if we have to, for an emergency, use,
You have to spend the entire, we
funds, you
talked about
have
that. You gotta spend the entire budget, and then you go to the courts and say,
Yes.
we need money, let us find money, or have another meeting, or whatever.
Yes.
But you have to have proved that you've spent all your money, period. Can't have any money left. That was part of the workshop. And we went, ow.
so, Brian, to your point, if you put boilers on there as a separate warrant article, which you don't need to do because there's already 500,000 in the default budget, and there's only 390 on boilers here. The rest of the boilers are being done here.
Now.
So, yeah,
Yeah.
so
I wouldn't put boilers on the
But
list.
no, the point, what I was trying to do, Kim, is that if
Put
you-
something on that would likely pass, so
There
that
you
you
go.
would
Okay,
have
so-
extra money.
that
in there.
versus someone looking at as a luxury item, if you will.
Well, that's fine. I mean, I'm
That's-
fine with
that's-
that. So I see both perspectives on that.
My concern is that it won't pass.
Really?
Yes.
Yeah, I'm concerned it won't pass.
I'd rather hedge the bet and protect it.
I mean, let's just talk towns here. I think Danville's taxes pretty much stayed flat this year, did they not, Sean? They were pretty flat. Sandowns, yours went up a bit, though you've been increasing. Danville's have been flat the last couple of years. Plastow's went up considerably.
Skyrocketed.
What, Kristen? Yeah.
Skyrocketed.
Skyrocketed, so
That's my concern, is
That's-
Plasto usually is a heavy voting block in favor. I'm not sure you're gonna see those numbers this year.
Well,
It's all up to you, Atkinson. Bring it home.
well, again,
I'm
agree
just
with
trying to
your
be
rationale.
pragmatic
I
here.
mean-
No, you gotta be a realist, too.
but I would think, I would have to think that people know you gotta put money in these facilities. You just,
Brian, I think.
No, people don't know.
okay,
And they're gonna say with a budget of, default budget of 72 million, find it.
just find the money in there?
And do it, and that becomes the problem.
We've already made it pretty enticing for them. There's a 1.8 million disparity between the two.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we already know where this is going, that's my point.
Then we'd only have 500,000.
And this sort of splits the difference. The warrant
We're
article.
right back to where
Well-
we're not moving forward. We just keep doing the same over and over and over again.
I
About
disagree.
500,000, 500,000, 500,000.
I disagree, because we put well over $1 million last year, $1.2 million, $1.3 million. We took money out of the reserve to do the pack wall. I don't think we're just in a spinning, we're making progress.
Boilers, roofs.
Roofs,
Out of
boilers,
surplus.
roofs, yeah,
Pack wall.
pack
Right.
wall.
Right there, that's what, 1.3, 1.2?
So
For
I
pack
don't.
wall and boilers.
So, I don't disagree with you, Brian, but I think we need to see the priority list and then have the discussion again, once we have numbers in front of us.
Well, you do have numbers
Got the numbers.
right in front of you right now.
Well, you do, but, so what are you saying you want to put on a warrant?
I don't think there's anything really that big.
Well, see, to
There's
me,
really not much.
if you start, I think if you start talking about a kitchen rent, it's not gonna, that's a no-brainer. You won't even get close to getting someone to pass that on a default.
But they have to be projects that if it does pass, we would do them, because
If the budget passes,
Then you'll,
these are the projects we have in line. Kitchens, doors, paving, boilers, lights at Sandown Central, lights at Sandown North, parking at Sandown North, Sandown.
yeah, look, I'm just looking at replace courtyard window and wall system, right? So that's
We
some-
did not get a accurate figure on that. We
Right,
put
but
that
that's what I'm
off.
saying, that's not something I would wanna put on that warrant article, because
not
that's
going
not
to.
something that we would
Yeah.
truly wanna
It's
be
not on the
doing.
list.
yeah,
Didn't it
and-
get pushed over?
and-
Yeah, it's on the list
It
for
is.
21, 20, oh, that's year
You're
two,
in the
sorry.
wrong
look at the
year.
wrong
Right here,
column.
but at any rate, so, the whole purpose of this article is when you see a spread between the proposed and the default, now I think we're all pretty much in agreement, there's about a 90% chance that the proposed will not pass. So now, that's the whole purpose of Article 6 was to get some additional money for our buildings. Not to get the print, let's call something Article 6.
Well, my feeling on this then, and looking at or thinking about your rationale and understanding what voters might think is a luxury versus a necessity, I think that this warrant article should focus on these rooftops, the rooftop ventilation and the roofs that need to be done. Because if the default is the budget, there's enough money in there to do the boilers. And if not, and the next big priority is really doing the roofing. And I would think the voters would support, and I think there's only about $200,000 in here, I haven't
Right.
added it up, for roofing. I think we should move forward with that. I understand why $1 million warrant article, but I think you've got to put what you want to spend it on, and I think voters are going to understand if you have a warrant article in there for $250,000 for roofing.
Is it specific enough to put for roofing and ventilation projects within the district?
I think if you start specifying it's for the Pollard School, or it's for Sandown Central versus Danville School, that even makes the divide even bigger.
I agree.
You should be thinking as a district.
That's why I'm asking
I agree.
if legally that's okay,
I think we'd have to ask Jim
if
O'Shaughnessy.
that
I
passes
don't
legal
know.
muster, is it specific enough?
Roofing and ventilation projects,
Yeah.
saying it that way versus Pollard School ventilation.
Right, that's what
Yeah,
I'm asking for the district.
Well, I think that what you do is that you disclose it at public hearing, which projects they are. I don't necessarily think that you have to write down each one of them. You may not, I could be wrong. But that if whatever it is that you present, that would be what you'd be held to.
So, somebody, I don't know, should it be somebody from the board, or do you want to ask Jim O'Shaughnessy if roofing and ventilation projects is specific enough for the warrant?
Sure.
And then we can prioritize what we have here, because we have, I mean, there's roofing, ventilation, and there's also building management systems, which are, it should be included in that.
That's correct.
Building management system. And that would bring you up to probably close to $300,000, or maybe even more if we really, because we have roofs probably in 21, 22
That you
that
could
we could
move.
bring forward, because
There's a
they're,
$40,000 one over there.
Yeah, I think you're on the right page. I think you're on the right page, Kim. That if the million would be on a default mindset, it'd probably be too much of an appetite for some of these people. But if you're talking like a $500,000-$600,000,
yeah.
I think you're going to increase your chances of passage. I would think.
Well, in 2021, you also have generators all over the
Oh,
place.
Wait,
no.
remember, don't look
No.
at the year, the
The only
next
year that
year.
is really,
Those are just placeholders, those are part of the, we have
Well-
not even discussed, well, you haven't discussed those.
I understand that, but
No,
she was looking over there, so.
Don't, yeah, she's
yeah,
just
well,
looking at the
I'm not,
roof.
I know
we
that I'm
moved
not
over.
looking at generators. I'm looking,
Don't talk
only
about
looking at roofs and things like that in the next year. Okay, so I guess we have a plan for that.
Okay. So what's your dollar amount you want to put in there? Are you still waiting for that? Are you still waiting for those figures to be?
$500,000?
500,000?
500,000.
500,000?
Yeah, not to exceed
Not to
that.
exceed
exceed
500,000.
We wouldn't
487,000.
appropriate
$495,000.
purposes of
think so,
rooftop
too.
ventilation and building maintenance.
Ventilation, roofing,
Yeah, I can work with Jim
and,
O'Shaughnessy to get that
and,
list.
Building management
what is it
needs.
called, management system repairs.
Yeah, buildings.
So,
Or can we just disclose the projects?
Sure.
instead of naming the project specifically,
Yeah.
could we reference back to the capital improvement plan?
Sure.
So it would be the,
Referencing the CIP.
could you do something like reference a heating and ventilation plan, heating and ventilation program or plan per year one of the CIP, and then reference whatever group of projects you want to do? If it's rooftops, if it's HVAC. I think that Jim would probably say you want to somehow identify it with some specificity. Well, you've got it right here. It's not neat, it's not tidy, it's something, right? So we can say, yeah, that's the
Put
project.
that in the warrant.
Except that we'd have to reconstruct this a little bit, because right now we don't have that sort of thing at that dollar amount in year one.
Food for thought.
Let's see how general we can keep it.
Yeah,
You can keep it
The
general.
more general we can keep it, the better, but follow Jim's advice.
spoken like a true lawyer.
Did you already say it's going
I
for
did.
the high school?
So now that
I
you've
agree with
got,
Don't say the
I think
schools.
if you're all on the same page about finalizing the language, do you want to take a position on it tonight about recommending it? Or do you want to just, or do you want to wait? I don't know. Really, I think the voting tonight is to, I just lost the word. Sorry, it's for Jen.
Yeah, it
Accommodate-
always goes back to
I just lost the
Jen.
word, to accommodate Jen, yeah. For that.
I'm okay with
Wow,
voting
Jen.
on it.
Is it, we leaving it at 500 and then?
500,000, yeah.
For those type of projects and whatever,
Whatever the
keeping it
language
as
is.
general as we
Here's
can
the
with
thing
the
is that if
language.
it turns out that you have to be specific about
You
which
have to
buildings.
revote it without me, revote it without me.
Right.
Come in.
If we don't, yeah, if we don't like it,
Which
or
would
if
be a
it's something,
shame.
an
We
issue.
won't put them in.
Kill the article.
What's that?
You have to be specific, I believe that will kill the article. I think
we
if we're
have- yeah.
general and say
Yeah.
globally, as a district, we are trying to improve roofs, ventilation, maintenance systems, master systems.
I just recall a warrant article in the past about the HVAC system. This was a long time ago, maybe 2006 or something, where they went in and they did list the buildings and the HVAC systems for each one of them. And I think it was even windows in particular buildings. That was back with our Doug McDonald. So,
Okay.
well, we can find out.
Okay.
And we'll send that, we'll send that language, whatever he says is a language, we'll make sure we get that out to board members.
So does, anybody wanna make a motion to recommend warrant article 6 for infrastructure maintenance and repair for 500,000?
I'll move that.
She makes that recommendation. For a second?
Second.
Seconded by Brian. Any further discussion? Not take a vote. All those in favor? Unanimous.
Okay, and do you have a presenter for that?
I'll talk that.
That's Brian.
I was gonna say, I already have two.
Brian does too.
Brian has 2.
Great.
On backup.
Sheila has 2.
apparently.
You can have one of mine.
No, it's okay.
Don't be sure to be late.
I'll just put backup to Cam.
It's more important at the
We'll
deliberative
wait for that
session, to
warrant
be
article
honest
for
with
you.
you.
Put it to GPS tracker. All right. Anything else on that? Warrant articles, all right, annual report articles. Up there for the,
Yes,
district
you need,
report?
you need to delegate someone to write an article on behalf of the school board.
Okay.
So that it can be finalized, and because Timberlane's, annual report does not go to print, you have some more flexibility. I just need to make sure that the report is finalized and made available to the
Chair.
public a
It's the
week
chair's
before
job.
The chair.
March vote.
That's the chair.
So you have
It's the
time
chair's
on
job.
February 20th, I think it's that date, is it the 20th, is it February, second February meeting, to approve it. You just need someone to, you just need to,
I'll,
Appointed, John.
It's the chair. Let's stick with tradition.
Didn't
like I'm
you-
delegating
weren't
this
you
going like
when
like
you were the
this.
chair?
Yeah, I did.
I did when I was the
Yeah.
chair. Wait, any other, no,
That
you're,
works.
you're up.
That's it.
all right, I'm up.
That's it. Keep it brief
You
like
get
I
paid
did,
big
you know,
bucks.
just make sure you get the right year.
Make it beautiful. Make it nice like I
Somebody
did.
else's and
I wouldn't
just
go back
cut
too
and paste
too
and
many
say,
years.
We were
7
talking about
years ago.
stuff we didn't do.
Okay, and moving on to our next agenda item is the school district clerk, and thanks for bringing that back on up to the table, Kathy, in regards to the vacancy that we had in our school district clerk position. And graciously, we have one in our packet that has stepped forward. And Miss Elizabeth Costa has graciously presented herself, and moved her name forward to help us out in this area. And it's in our packets, and I would like to actually seek a motion to,
so before you do that, we just wanna make sure that people understand what the roles and responsibilities are for that position. I believe there are administrative clerical duties associated with that. So we prepare the warrant for the purposes of the board because the warrant is the board's. And so, but the ballot would be the responsibility of the school district clerk, as would the transcribing the meeting minutes at deliberative session, as would serving as the point person for when all the towns call in to provide their official results, and then disseminating that, getting that information to the district point person. That would be that person's responsibility. That person would also be responsible for overseeing and coordinating with the moderator if there happens to be a recount on any of the items. They would serve in that capacity. So there is time, there's time that this person will need to put in to do that work. And I just want to make sure that everybody understands that that they understand those responsibilities.
okay, I think as long as we can have help with the SAU to make sure that, we know that these are the duties that are
We can
expected from
certainly
them.
let them know what their duties are, absolutely, yeah.
I don't wanna have it to be a sink and swim kind of issue, you know, but just making it ahead of time, like, oh, yeah, you're gonna be having, you know, transcribe the minutes and stuff, I mean, that's just one of the tasks, I know that, but that's pretty much straightforward, once you know that, what you gotta do. Go for it.
Right, so I don't want to confuse you to think that it's a training thing, because it would not be like a training thing. It would certainly be giving that individual the information and what they need to get that done, and, you know, assist when possible, but it does become the function of the district clerk. And it's very unique this year, because it's always been an employee, so there's been this sharing of district, you know, resources in that way, but this is not the case anymore. And I'll be completely frank with you, and I was almost didn't say anything, but given the past complaints made against the district clerk and the past complaints made against the person who does the ballots, that has played a role in those people wanting to step up and assist. I think that they feel burned, that they were doing their jobs, and that there were complaints made to the Attorney General's office. And I think that this is just a consequence associated with that we can't find people within the district who want to participate, who want to assist the district in that way. It's, you know, it's a great service to provide, but the truth is that's the consequence associated with that.
So there were no district employees that stepped up to take this, am I correct?
No, we inquired. We
Right,
inquired because
but
it's so
there were
much easier to do it
no-
in-house.
There were no applications, there was nobody that inquired?
No,
Okay,
they
so-
did not want to put themselves into that position.
I would hope, my hope would be that this person who put in for this position would have the
Resources.
resources and being an ex-school board member.
Don't,
Excuse me?
you think that being on the
I
school
would
board
think
would give
that
us the
that would help
experience?
her as far as understanding the role of the job. However, I would really hope that the employees in this building would not leave her high and dry and would assist her also. But that's,
No, I would
My-
expect, I
my
would
hope.
expect the SAU office to assist this individual in every capacity that they can.
I mean, we
Maybe
have
support
somebody.
is a better word.
Right,
Support, correct.
thank you. Okay, do you need a motion for this? What do you need?
You do.
Yes. Sue, did you have a question?
Yeah, I just wanted to ask, this has been advertised
It has, for a long time.
for quite a while. We haven't had any other takers from the public.
The only other applicants that came in were individuals who had also, they were applying for full-time positions in the district. And when you apply on Apple Track, you see there's a list of vacancies, and they just click on all of them. But the interest was in a full-time job. And I think the impression was that the district clerk was a full-time position.
Right. It has to be a resident of the district.
Resident of the district, mhm.
So,
Okay.
I'll make a motion to appoint Liz Costa as the district clerk.
a
Okay.
second?
Motion made by Kim, seconded by Sheila. Any further discussion? Not call for a vote. All those in favor?
Thank God she stepped up.
All those opposed? All those abstained?
Was it
So
801?
801.
Thank you.
Okay. Okay, we'll move on to the administrator's report.
Good evening. You have two pieces in the administrator's report. The first is the materials in the board packet, would be the executive summaries. You should have one for the PAC wall update, the DOE building aid rep, the evening division cost analysis that you requested, staffing update, and the boiler replacement schedule, as well as the unreserved fund balance and the finance calendar. In addition, there's a treasurer's report for July, August, and September, and you have the New Hampshire DOE waiver for intent to apply for building aid. And the second piece, along with that, administrator's report is actually a highlight of the Pollard fifth grader, Casey Fitzgerald, that's been sworn into the New Hampshire Kids Executive Council. New Hampshire's Kid Governor is a statewide program for fifth graders in partnership with the New Hampshire Institute for Civics Education, with support from the New Hampshire State House and the Department of Ed. Kid Governor is an immersive civics experience that teaches fifth graders about the state government, voting in elections, and the importance of civic participation through a real-life election that's timed to coincide with the election day in November. Schools can participate for free by nominating one student candidate in the election, voting in the election, or both. Candidates run on platforms that address community issues they care about and work with classmates to create campaign videos. We are very excited to announce that Casey Fitzgerald will be sworn in as New Hampshire's Kid Executive Council in 2020. Casey was a finalist for the Kids Governor seat, which was awarded to Susie Brand of Sanborn, New Hampshire. Casey's platform was on bullying, and we congratulate Casey, and we're very proud of her.
Congratulations.
Okay, move on to the personnel report.
Okay, 3 items on the personnel report. There are no resignations or nominations, but we do have retirements for you this evening. Anthony Fish, the Timberland Regional High School's guidance counselor for 20 years, will be retiring. Our Danville Elementary principal, Nancy Barcelos, for 37 years, and Barbara Kane, our Polwood school teacher, for 35 years.
Okay. I would seek a motion to accept the retirements.
I'll make a motion to accept the retirements of all 3 with gratitude and appreciation for their years here.
I'll second.
Motion made and seconded. Any further discussion?
Nearly a century of experience there.
Yeah.
Exactly. Call for a vote. All those in favor? Unanimous? Okay. Committee reports to the school board. Go right around the room.
Brian, oh, no, I guess, Brian, you can talk about, no, I don't have anything.
Go ahead, Barb.
We're going around the room. It's not his turn yet.
Jen?
Policy committee met tonight, so we didn't have any policies for you for tonight, but I think we moved through another block of 5, so those should be coming your way.
Okay.
She stole my thunder.
Plus, you have a mission statement and goals.
We do.
We do.
That's a big deal.
We'll read them next week. Lee will read them next week.
Oh, thank you.
Sheila?
No,
Anything?
nothing.
Kristen? Brian? That thing that Kim was talking about?
Now that I've got this pressure, actually, I think what you're talking about has to go into a non-public.
Well, I mean, that's what we're gonna talk about at
Yes.
the end of this meeting, going into non-public about it.
Or non-meeting, yeah.
Or non-meeting,
Well,
whatever.
thanks for the update.
Yeah. It's a negotiation update. Yeah, it's a no meeting, yeah. When you're done, you can talk.
Okay. Sue?
My turn. Curriculum and assessment met this week. We did quite a bit, and working on the request for the STEM materials. That's one of the board goals. So we've been working on getting that. It's already about a 35 or 40, 50-page document of the supplies and materials and resources we have for STEM within the district, down to how many vials of litmus paper and acetic acid we have. So it's quite lengthy. I don't think you're all going to want a copy of that. Sarah and I have a rough draft copy of 40-some-odd pages that we're welcome to show you, but we'll be ready to give you I guess, an executive summary or presentation, whichever you choose, on where we are with STEM. I think, personally, we're in a very good spot. Could we always use more materials? Sure. Do we have huge gaps? No. Do we need space to store stuff? Sure. You can't have stuff without closet space or bins or something. Could we always use a person that could be our STEM coordinated district-wide for the elementary schools and help out and/or another person for the middle school and high school that would be, where's the materials, and jockey them around, because that's how it is. You share your materials. There's a lot of sharing. Sure, but as far as physical materials, that was the goal. I think you'll be pleased at seeing that summary. We also worked hard on the testing. I'll let Sarah talk about where we are in the testing presentation.
Yeah, so we did a review, kind of a rough draft again, of the assessment presentation for later in the year, before elections, February, yeah. That is also a very lengthy presentation. It's somewhere around 60 slides or so. It's a lot of information. So we're gonna take another look at that at the next meeting. We just started to review it, and we are gonna be taking notes and kind of doing another pass.
Seeing if we could
Shorten it a little bit, condense stuff, but still provide all the information that's requested. The other thing that we talked about at the meeting was, one of the teachers in the American Studies class made a request for an additional class resource. The book by George Takei, it's a graphic novel version of, They Called Us Enemy, that would be used as a class resource while the class is discussing World War II. So it's the graphic novel version of George Takei's experience in the Japanese internment camps during World War II. So it would be, it's a class resource. Common Sense Media rated it an A+ classroom resource. So we were able to take a look at that and had a great discussion on how the teacher hopes to utilize it to kind of expand discussion during class. So, yeah.
All right, correspondence folder, all that stuff. Vendor payroll registered, everybody get around there signing that?
pass that back. Like everybody saw that.
Okay, we'll set on that. Any other business to come before the school board? Okay, take that, and going off into our non-public.
Non-meeting. Do we need a
I wanna make
non-public?
sure, I mean, I don't remember that. What particular RSA would allow us
It's
to go?
not an RSA, because it's considered a non-meeting, it's a part of RSA 91A, but it doesn't qualify as a meeting that requires the transcribing of minutes or public access. There are certain situations where they're considered non-meetings, and that is to discuss negotiations, CBA and negotiations.
It's not
Do I have that in front of me? I don't have the full statute in front of me. It's,
However, if we were gonna go into,
yeah, you don't need a, yeah.
I think we wanna move to a non-meeting, but not adjourn this meeting.
Then you can recess.
Recess this meeting.
Recess,
Go
and
into a
then, because we
non-meeting.
may wanna come back out and say something.
That's what I would do. I had recess.
Let's recess and then come back.
Okay. So, we'll consider this, public meeting right now to be on hold or in recess, and then we will come back after our non-meeting. Okay?
Night,
All right,
Kyle.
thank you.
thank you.
Goodbye, Mr. Duffy.
Hi, Kyle.
Wait a minute.